Hope you're doing good. In this live stream, we are going to be researching 2 fights taking place this weekend at UFC 299. We're going to be researching Gilbert Burns versus Della Madalena. We're also going to be researching Kevin Holland versus Michael Venom Page. So what I'm going to do is just drop some announcements in my Discord and on Telegram so everyone knows we're doing this, and then we will be up and running just a second. So let me just refresh my stream pages just to make sure we're live and good. Okay, so we're live on Twitch, we are live on YouTube too. Yeah, we're up on YouTube. Alright, cool. Hope you're having a good day. Blah 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 blah. Boom. And then I'll just drop in this link. And also, where are we? This link. Boom. So that's Discord sorted. And then let me just put a message out on my Telegram. And we will be good to go, man. 2 seconds. I'll just chuck out a quick Telegram, then all the homies know we're live. Let me just do this real quick. We'll be good to go now. 2 seconds. I've just gone live to research. Okay. Boom. So you just get those notifications. What is up, everybody? So guys, here we go. So in this live stream, we're going to be researching a couple fights because there's like crossovers between opponents. So obviously Kevin Holland fought Della Madalena in his last matchup. So we can do Della Madalena and Gilbert Burns and Kevin Holland and Michael Venom Page in the same stream. Then we only have to watch Holland versus Madalena one time. 2 birds with 1 stone, and we'll smash through it. So if you're watching this after the fact on YouTube or on my website, when the video has been uploaded after the live streams, then there won't be any timestamps or any structure to this live stream, just because it's a live session and I have no idea, you know, what we're going to find in this live stream. We're just going to research both these fights together as a community, watch all of, you know, the recent fights from all these fighters involved in these matchups, and then hopefully by the time we've done that, we will have a pretty good read on how both these fights are likely to play out. Might even be able to dig up a few bets, which would be really nice. And it'll be interesting to see how we feel about these fights. My initial leans are Gilbert Burns to beat Della Madalena, because from memory, Madalena's ground game is very, very bad. I think he got exposed quite bad against Hafez. So it's interesting now that he's fighting Gilbert Burns, who's obviously a very, very good grappler. And my lean in Michael Page versus Holland is definitely Page. However, I haven't watched Page fight in quite a few years because I stopped watching Bellator a couple of years. A couple of years ago, I decided to focus more on betting football than other MMA promotions. So at that point, I stopped watching Bellator. So it's been a couple of years since I watched Michael Page. But from memory, from when I used to watch him, this is potentially a nightmare stylistic matchup for Holland. So I'm looking forward to this one. And I'm very optimistic that we might be able to bet these fights because the odds are playable on all 4 guys, right? They're both in the even money odds range. So we will get into it, man. So, hey, what's up, Lebanese21? Hope you're doing good, mate. Oh, thanks a lot, Lebanese, mate. Hope you're doing good, man. Watching on Twitch. Hey, what's up, Will Goggins, mate? Hope you're doing good. What's up, Memes for Days? Hey, Patrick. Hey, Parlons, mate. Hope you're doing good. Hey, Taz. How you doing, mate? Hey, Nemo. How you doing, man? Hey, what's up, Ash? Hope you're doing good, mate. Oh god, Parlons is doing taxes. Literally my least favourite thing to do in the world. Taxes. Nothing gives me anxiety like taxes. I absolutely hate it, man. I feel for you, Parlons, mate. Nemo is saying, didn't listen to you because a friend said trust me on a Yair Brandon Pale and I lost a good win streak. Never again. Unlucky, dude. Unlucky, man. Unlucky, mate. Well, hopefully you can get it back this weekend, Nemo. Fingers crossed, dude. Hey, what's up, Ash? Good to see you, mate. What's up, Joey? Good to see you, man. Alright, so let's get into researching these fights. So what we'll do, because there's crossover with Holland fighting Madalena last, we'll go through the tail of the tape on all four guys, go through all the X factors, and then we can just get into looking at their past fights, see what the footage shows us. So if we start off with Gilbert Burns, Jack Della, Madalena. Burns, 37 years old, 5'10", with a 71-inch reach. He's going to be 38 in July, which is very old for a welterweight. I wouldn't say Burns has like shown signs of massive decline or anything like that, but at 38 years old, you'd expect him to be declining quite rapidly at this stage in his career. Jack Della, Madalena, 27 years old, 5'11", with a 73-inch reach. So both these guys actually on the smaller side for welterweights. We have got the age statistic in play though. The younger fighter wins around 70% of the time, 7-0, when there's a 10-year age gap in a fight. So with Madalena being so much younger than Burns, that is a massive trend going in Madalena's favour. And that is quite a big trend to fight against. If we look at the odds, we can see that Madalena is around about a 1.68 favourite, which is going to be minus 147 for an implied probability of 60%. If we take a look at the odds on Burns, he's around an average of quite a big odds spread actually. We'll call it 2.18, which would be plus 118 for an implied probability of 46%. This is going to be an interesting fight to research because it's really, really tough to fight against the age stat on a matchup like this. But I just remember Madalena looking so bad on the ground against Hafez. That is like a major, major part of victory for Gilbert Burns. So I'm looking forward to looking into their past fights and seeing exactly what that looks like in the footage. We flip over to Kevin Holland. He's 31 years old, 6'3", with an 81-inch reach. Michael Venom Page, 36 years old. He's going to be 37 next month, which is also really old. Really, really old for a welterweight. He's 6'3" with a 79-inch reach. So Venom and Holland about the same size, but Michael Venom Page is getting very old now. And I think that's potentially a massive issue for MVP, because a guy like this relies so much on speed and reflexes, which are some of the first things to go as you get old. I wonder how a 37-year-old MVP is looking. Not too sure. We'll have to take a look at that. Having said that, though, to be fair, I don't think Holland has looked very good at welterweight. I think he's looked a lot worse at welterweight than he did at middleweight. At middleweight, he had like a raw athleticism to him. He had like a vibrancy. He looked sharp. He landed hard, impactful shots. He could hurt guys at middleweight. But as he's dropped down to welterweight, he just doesn't seem to be able to hurt his opponents anymore. He looks physically weak and very skinny as well. So I don't feel Holland's looked particularly good at welterweight, which to some extent is kind of, I guess, maybe reflected in his recent performances, right? Where he's gone 2-2 in his last 4. I mean, it's not a great, like, if I'm being honest, I love Stephen Thompson. He's amazing. But Kevin Holland is a striker. It's not a great look when a striker is getting outstruck by a 41-year-old striker. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, the fact that Stephen Thompson kind of outclassed Kevin Holland, for me, is a huge red flag. But we'll see what the footage shows us. So if we plan out what fights to start with, of course, the other X factor is Michael Venom Page making his UFC debut. I only wish it came earlier in his career, because he's been amazing to watch over the years. But anyway, let's get into this fight then. So where shall we start? Where should we start? I tell you what, let's start with the fight that's going to be the quickest to research, and then we can kind of tick it off the list and focus on the next one. To be fair, pretty much all 4 of these fighters are going to take a while to work through because they're decisionators. Or actually, maybe not so much for Madalena. His last 2 have gone to a decision. This one will take a while to get through. Burns decision here. I think we'll start with MVP versus Holland. I think that's the fight I'm most interested in as well. Alright then. Okay. So, I'm very, very familiar with Kevin Holland's strengths and weaknesses because we researched him a bunch of times over the last couple of years. Let's start brushing up on Michael Venom Page. See how he's looking. So, we will kick things off by taking a look at his last fight, which is a 26-second leg kick knockout from Goiti Yamauchi. And let's just grab that fight. Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Here we go. Alright. So if we're not going to be able to watch any of these fights together, I will link them for you. But I reckon we'll get away with this one. Just let me know if there's any like problems with the stream. It's only 26 seconds. We can probably take a quick look at this. Is it over already? No, he's walking out. Alright. Let's take a look at what goes on here. Alright. Just keeping an eye, make sure there's no problems on the stream. Didn't even realise Goiti Yamauchi was a welterweight. I thought he was a lightweight. And we've got Befrin. Alright, here we go. Damn, is that it? Jesus. Oh shit, he's got like a bulge coming out of his knee. Fucking hell, that looks nasty. Jesus, man. Fucking hell. That isn't good. Alright, well that doesn't really tell us anything. Alright, let's take a look at... You know what? I think it actually is worth watching the BKFC fight because even though it's obviously not MMA, his last fight then before Perry was like 2 years ago. So I think at least watching him against Mike Perry will give us some idea of maybe the kind of like athletic condition that Page is in. We'll still see how sharp he is. We'll still see how he moves. We'll still be able to get a good look at his cardio. So I actually think it will be useful to watch this BKFC fight again. Can we watch it on here without getting into trouble with the YouTubes? What do we think? Should we give it a try? I think we should give it a try. But yeah, at least like even at the very least, this fight is going to enable us to see where MVP's cardio is at, like at worst. All right, it's going to catch up on the. I'll catch up on the comments as well, guys. Catch up on the comments. Also, guys, if any of you are interested in joining me for live betting this weekend, I'll leave a link down below. You can check it out or go to the website. If you go to UFC betting on the website and then live betting, you can join there. But what I am doing is lowering the member cap on live betting because recently it's been so easy to get in on bets. I've absolutely loved it. So I'm going to permanently lower the cap on live betting. How many people are in my live betting service, like permanently capping it. So there's not many spaces left available because of that. So if you want to give it a try this weekend, there it is on the site. Check it out. I'll catch up on some comments now. Let's go through it, man. What have we got? What have we got? Anthony, so it's really hard. Like if you go to my homepage, Anthony's just asking about the website. There's loads of like pages with just placeholder content, stock images. I just don't get time to work on the website, man, because fight research is so time consuming. But you can still join us if you want to. The pages to actually join us are working on the site. So if you want to join pre-fight tips, you could. You go there. Live betting tips, you go here. All that's working. But yeah, it's gonna. I'm hoping to have the website finished in time for the next break in UFC schedule, which is April. But it's just fight research is so time consuming. Like I'll do a bit of work on the website when we get a break, then I'll, you know, not finish it, and then it's time to get back to fight research. So hopefully April, man. But if you want to join us, you can now, Anthony, mate. If you get stuck, just send me an email and I'll help you out on how to get set up, man. Or you can actually join the Discord, which is completely free. Just go to the Discord page and you can use this page to join the Discord. Instructions on there how to do it, and then I can help you on Discord as well, man. Alright. Hey, what's up, Nick, mate? Hope you're doing good. You know what, Nick? I am feeling the same. Out of all the fights jumping out at me as potential bets this weekend, Michael Venom Page is one of the first names jumping out at me. Just if he's anything like I remember him being, I just think he's going to give Kevin Holland absolute hell. Because if you really think about it, the only two ways you're really going to cause a guy like MVP a problem is to take him down and Kevin Holland never tries to take his opponents down, or to just knock him out, which isn't going to be an easy thing to do because Kevin Holland doesn't really have knockout power, especially at welterweight. You know what I mean? Like, it's possible MVP might be totally shot at 36, 37 years old, but then in this fight, he's just gone toe-to-toe with Mike Perry in a bare-knuckle boxing fight, which lasted 15 minutes. Standing right in front of Perry, for me, is way more dangerous than standing in front of a guy like Kevin Holland. So, could be wrong, man. Could be wrong. Jeff Bruno is saying that Gilbert Burns struggles with straight shots down the middle. Kim may have dropped him that way and then proceeded to throw wild hooks the rest of the fight. WizKid is saying Michael Venom Page is going to get found out. He hasn't fought anyone good. Kevin eating them shots and blitzing through his little theatrics. You know what, mate? What I would say to that is the thing that has me interested in MVP this week is that for a guy like Kevin Holland, now we haven't watched the fight yet, we're going to watch it soon, but for a guy like Kevin Holland, Jack Della Madalena should be the easiest stylistic matchup imaginable, because when you're a flashy, rangy striker like Kevin Holland that wants to just stay on the outside and use his length to chip away at you, when you're facing someone like Jack Della Madalena, it's literally the perfect stylistic matchup because you don't have to worry about being taken down. And he's just going to walk forward. He's just going to walk you down and look to outbox you. And that's all he's going to do. Jack Della Madalena is very good at what he does, but he's also very one-dimensional. He doesn't really mix things up. He doesn't give you much to think about. So the fact that Kevin Holland struggled so badly against Jack Della Madalena, I think is red flag city. Because if you look at this, consider the stylistic matchup, right? You've got two strikers, Kevin Holland, Michael Venom Page. Two strikers, Kevin Holland, Jack Della Madalena. Who's a more difficult striker to work out? Jack Della Madalena or Michael Venom Page? Do you know what I mean? Like, if you're struggling to deal with Madalena's style, you could really, 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 really struggle against Michael Venom Page's style, because it's way easier to read and work out someone like Madalena. It's way easier for you to use your length and your footwork against someone like Madalena than it will be Michael Venom Page. So I don't really... I mean, I might change my mind after we do the fight research, but at the moment I'm not buying into the whole MVP hasn't fought anyone kind of thing, because for me he's a way more difficult stylistic matchup than Jack Della Madalena, and arguably even Stephen Thompson. You know, because... You know, you consider Thompson's 41 years old. The fact that Michael Venom Page hasn't fought anyone, you know, could mean that he maybe won't decline as early in his career as other guys his age, because I can't imagine he's taken too much damage in his career. I don't think he's ever been knocked out, to my knowledge. One time. So, yeah, it's pretty impressive, man. We'll soon find out, though. Oh, nice one, Joey McBride. Thanks a lot, mate. Yeah, if you could like and subscribe, that would be great. Thanks, guys. So, J. Leon Love is basically just giving a really concise summary of how I see it as well. If you think about it, right? MVP is very tricky, right? Arguably a better version of Stephen Thompson than Stephen Thompson. If Holland struggled with Stephen Thompson, he might really, really struggle against MVP. Joy McBride is saying, like MVP in this fight, Holland never follows a game plan, rarely if ever has shot a takedown. think he'll stay standing and lose a point fighting contest at MVP. And that's the other thing, right? With Kevin Holland, he has really bad fight IQ. So I feel whenever you bet, or whenever whenever you're trying to bet a Kevin Holland fight, you've kind of got to bake into your assessment of the fight the fact that he may just make catastrophic mistakes and catastrophic decisions and throw the fight away because he just doesn't do smart things. Whereas that might not be as big of an issue with Michael Venom Page. So anyway, let's watch this fight now. This is Mike Perry against MVP. I'm going to keep it. Can we go full screen, do you think? What do you think? I'll keep an eye. Hopefully it doesn't wind up in us getting copyright flagged. But I think it'll be fine. I think the fight's on YouTube anyway. We'll see what we got, man. So yeah, what I'm looking forward to paying attention to in this fight is just the pace that MVP fights at and his cardio, just how sharp he looks. Bearing in mind, obviously MVP likes to use a lot of footwork and movement, and this ring is really small, or this ring looks really small. Did he get dropped there? Did he get dropped there? Nice one, M-Tez. Thanks a lot, mate. That is true, Taz. He's a difficult guy to read. One thing that I was really surprised at in this matchup, because I remember watching this live, was how much MVP tried to fight Mike Perry on the inside in a phone booth. So obviously when we see him in Bellator, he's either all the way outside of a range where he can be hit, or all the way on the inside. I didn't expect him to mix it up with Perry as much as he did. It was quite a shocker, to be honest. He kind of went toe to toe with Perry. I thought he'd kind of dance around Perry all night and be really elusive, and he didn't at all. It was quite shocking to me. Spoiler alert, obviously, for anyone that hasn't watched the fight. Like, even there, right, as Perry blitzes forward, you would expect MVP from his Bellator fights to kind of back up and circle away, but instead he's just trying to stand his ground and counter. I actually think this fight goes to an overtime round. From memory, I think it does. I think it's tied at the end of 5 rounds and then they go to an overtime round. Pretty sure that's what happens. Nice. Counter right hand there. A little bit of showboating as well. Jesus. Jeez, he's nice with the counters, right? I feel he was quite sloppy in round 1, but now that he's starting to find his range, he's picking Perry off here. He's doing a much better job of evading Perry and countering him. I feel like Perry caught Page cold a few times in round 1, but he's looking sharp here. He looks so sharp in this round, man. His head movement's amazing. I don't think Perry's landed a clean shot in this round yet. He's landed a few shots in the clinch, but that's about it. At distance, MVP looks amazing. You can see how much more relaxed he is now with his movement. Page was a bit sloppy in round 1, but he's so sharp now. He's looking very good. And let's be real, man. Perry's no picnic. Hits really hard, really aggressive. He's pushing a high pace here. Page has looked amazing in this round, man. Very, very, very sharp. He's looked really good he's looked really good in this round. I'm quite impressed. He looked great. Oh, we got some slow-mos of the counters. We'll take them. Yes, please. Really impressive. The chin on Perry, though. Jesus, man. Alright, round 3. I'm so impressed by the head movement of Page. Just because you got to think about it, right? There's 3 things to consider here. Actually, there's more than 3. I'll see if I can remember them all. First is, this is a really small ring. Page doesn't have much time. Well, he doesn't have much space to move around in. Number 2, this is his first bare knuckle fight. Number 3, he's fighting a guy that is putting relentless pressure on him. Number 4, he's 36 years old. Like, whenever Perry lands, like if you think about the knockdown in round 1, it was because Perry came forward really aggressively and trapped Page up against the cage. At distance, Perry isn't getting near Page. The only time Perry is landing is when he kind of bum rushes Page, traps him up against the ropes. But if you think about how much bigger the octagon is going to be on Saturday night, and the fact that Holland isn't really a pressure fighter, it's going to be so much harder for Holland to get the Page than it is for Perry, who is literally just happy to steam forward, Hulk out, and take a shot to give a shot. Like at distance, like look at the damage that Perry's wearing on his face. Like at distance, he's just getting picked off. I think Page looks really good here, man. He's looking sharp. Like in this range, he gets caught occasionally because he gets trapped. But I think that's just a lack of space. Like this ring is a small place to be, and Page is a big guy. You know, he's got the wingspan of a light heavyweight, which is what makes him so good. Obviously, he's got a really nice body type for welterweight. Long and lean. And look at the head movement. Just little sequences like this, where Perry's kind of marauding forward. And he's like that little movement there, that little head movement, just to step off to the right. Very, very impressed by Page. Very impressed. And if you think about it, right? Look at this. Look at the damage that Perry is wearing on his face. MVP lost the decision, but look at the damage on Perry's face compared to MVP. Like MVP's barely got a scratch on him. Like he's been in there with Mike Perry for 3 rounds. He's barely got a scratch on him. Like to me, this is really impressive. I'm very, very impressed. Hey, what's up, Hilts? Hope you're doing good, Hilts, mate. Anyway, round 4. I'm impressed. He looks sharp. He doesn't look like a 36-year-old. He looks like a 26-year-old. And one thing else that we've got to consider. So this fight's been going for about 8 minutes now. Obviously, it's only half the length of a UFC fight. But MVP has been under constant pressure. You know, Perry's been in his face, forcing him to engage for like 8 minutes now. And MVP hasn't slowed at all. Look at his footwork. Look at his movement. He's still very loose. Very sharp. Fast hand speed. Really, really good footwork. Like this fight has been... Like both these guys have been sprinting. And he's still looking just as sharp as he did in round 1. Which is important because obviously we know Kevin Holland's a cardio machine. MVP's looking good, man. Glad we watched this because obviously this was the last time we're really gonna... Well, this would have been the last time we've seen MVP properly because that fight against Gota Yamuchi finished in 26 seconds, which is a big shame. He looks great. He looks great, man. I'm impressed. I'm impressed. I'm very, very impressed. Man, how much better are these streams when we can actually watch the fights together? I hate that we have to do the whole countdown clock thing because when we can actually watch these fights together is so much better. Very impressed, man. Very impressed. This is the final round, but then I think it goes to like an overtime round. But both these guys with a sense of urgency. You can see they're coming out aggressive in round 5, sensing it's probably 2 rounds apiece. Perry probably won the first and the fourth, didn't he? And Page won the second and the third. And you can see, right, now that both guys are kind of sensing it's 2 rounds apiece, Page is engaging with Perry more. Instead of sticking to what worked well for him in rounds 2 and 3 and just kind of pick Perry off from the outside, he's trying to meet Perry head on now and catch him with big counters, which is why Perry's having more success in this round. And on one hand, I don't like that, because I think if Page would have stuck to his game plan and strategy from the second and third round, he would have won the fight. But on the other hand, I kind of like it, because what this 5th round performance shows to me is that Page has got a really strong will to win. He's clearly switched it up and coming out more aggressive in the 5th, because he senses it's really close and he's trying to put his stamp on this round to get this over the line and put a win in the bank. I would much rather a guy do what MVP is doing now and just leave it all out there and do his absolute best to win than someone like Alex Perez on the weekend against Mohamed Mokaev that could easily have beaten Mokaev in that fight. But in round 3 just chose to limp out and do absolutely nothing. I do not understand that 3rd round performance from Alex Perez. It was baffling to me. And you're not getting that from MVP here. He's fighting with a sense of urgency, and I really like it. And because of that, he's tired a bit now, just because he's literally gone toe-to-toe in this 5th round. Do you know what else this shows me, though? You guys know how many brutal knockouts we see in BKFC. Like, MVP is going to be 37 years old soon. This fight definitely proves his chin is still his chin is still good, because like Perry's a wrecking machine in BKFC, right? It's not easy to stand in front of this guy for what will be, I mean, this is going into the 6th round now. It's not easy to stand in front of a guy as aggressive as Perry for 6 rounds. So I'm loving it, man. Hey, what's up, Mark? Hope you're doing good, mate. What's up, WizKid, mate? Unlucky MTez, mate. Yeah, you know what? I do think MVP's a little bit unlucky to lose this, just because he's taken way less damage. He's been much more elusive. I think he's landed the cleaner, harder shots. It's just Perry's like, look at the state on Perry, man. Swollen jaw, multiple cuts. He's just out hustled Page, right? You look at like that clean jab there. Everything the Page is landing is clean. What is interesting though, you look at how much damage Page is wearing on his face now. He barely had a scratch on his face going into round 5. And then in round 5, he's decided to go toe to toe with Perry. And look what's happened, man. What a fight though. I'm glad we watched this. Now, if I were to lean MVP and I wanted to bet MVP, I would feel way more confident betting on him after watching this, because to me this fight kind of proves that his cardio, chin, toughness, will to win, that's all very much still there, you know what I mean? Like, there's no concerns over that at all for me. He lost the fight, but you know, to put in a performance like this after being knocked down in round 1 against someone as nasty as like Mike Perry, like, it's not going to be a nice experience fighting someone like Perry. Like, this is pretty impressive to me, man. I'm impressed. I'm very, very impressed. So we'll shut that down, and what we will do is figure out what fight we're going to watch next. So I think what we could do is, what I like to do after I've watched one fighter, I like to watch the other guy just so I can start to visualize how they're both going to match up stylistically. So we'll actually, usually I watch the fighter's most recent fight, so that gives us like the best representation of what to expect from them, and then I work backwards. But in this instance, we'll leave the Madalena fight to last, because then that's a nice segue into researching Madalena versus Burns. So do things slightly different on this one. So I think what we should do is watch the Kizer versus Ponzinibbio fight. Then we'll watch some more MVP. Then we'll watch the Stephen Thompson fight, because what I love about the Stephen Thompson fight is that Thompson and Page have got really, really similar styles. So I think this Thompson fight is going to give us some good insight into how Holland may do against Page. So what we will do now is check out Holland's fight against Mr. Michael Kizer. So this is the annoying part in the stream. Very annoying. Where I've got to share links with you to watch these fights, because otherwise we're going to get hit with the fucking ban hammer on YouTube for copyright and all that shit. It absolutely sucks, man, because I love it when we can research fights where we're watching the footage together. You know what I mean? That's like the best way to do it. And the thing is, someone was saying, obviously I've got a Discord server, someone was saying that I could do like group research sessions in Discord, where I like stream my desktop to everyone in Discord, but then I'm worried because it's like I don't want to get my Discord server shut down. Do you know what I mean? It's fucking risky. So the way that we will do this is I'll use a countdown clock, Joe Hogan style, and we'll all sync up the first round of this fight against Kizer. So if you click the links for me that I popped in the chats, sync up the start of the first round, and just like a fight companion on Joe Rogan, I'll hit start, and then we can kind of sync the fights up and watch them together. So I'm just syncing up Kizer and Holland on Fight Pass now. It starts at about 2 minutes 20 seconds, something like that. My hair's gone fucking crazy as well. 2 minutes 20 seconds, something like that. Sync it up, guys, sync it up. Pop this up here as well. There we go. Sync it up for me. So Mark is saying, something I've always thought about Mike Perry is he never catches anyone with anything they didn't see coming, so they know to prepare for the punch in the battle. Holland's long arms may just catch him with something he didn't expect and take him out. Just a gut feeling. Do you know what though, man? For me, just working from like hazy memories, I just don't think Holland's got the power to hurt people at welterweight. For me, he's looking physically weak. Like when you see his body type, he's so skinny. And I remember watching the Madalena fight and thinking he just doesn't have the power to hurt guys in this division. He looks so flat. Like I may feel differently about it when we watch these fights in the cold light of day, but I think middleweight Kevin Holland was way more dangerous than welterweight Kevin Holland. But I could be wrong. Let's get into this Kizer fight now. Let's start it up in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. Let's go, let's go. What have we got? So obviously Holland wins this fight by submission, so it'll be interesting to see how that happened, because obviously MVP's biggest weakness is going to be on the ground. I was amazed that Kevin Holland won this fight by submission when you consider how bad Kevin Holland's grappling has looked in fights against guys like Marvin Vettori and Derek Brunson. I was just blown away that he was able to submit Kizer. The one thing I do like about betting against guys like Holland is, again, their fight IQ is so bad it's kind of like there's always a chance that he might just implode, just might have a bad night, might make some bad decisions. Whereas with Page, you have a lot more trust in him showing up and performing to his full potential. Holland's looking very sharp in this fight. Nice single leg entry from Kizer into a double leg. That was a really, really nice transition. Got in quite deep on Holland's legs there. And if we think about, it's not too relevant to this fight because MVP is not going to try and take him down. But if you think of how bad Holland's takedown defense was earlier in his career, that just shows real improvement from him in that area. Again, Kizer in really, really deep on the legs here. Oh, mate, yeah. Holland's takedown offense is improving a lot. Used his length really well there to stay up. Very nice. Yeah, even there where Kizer tries to get in on the legs and Holland sprawls out of the takedown. There we go with a submission win. Very nice, man. Kevin Holland, the ninja on the ground. Very, very nice. So now, let's take a look at the fight against Santiago Ponzinibbio. Let's take a look at this one. So I'll drop the link in again. Yeah, unfortunately, Gunny, I'm not able to show the fight, sorry, mate, because the video will get taken, or the stream will get taken down for copyright infringement. So we've got to kind of watch the fight companion style, like Joe Rogan, which sucks. It does absolutely suck. But when I've like shown footage of fights in the past, the stream's been like immediately taken down. So we're quite lucky we got away with the Mike Perry one against MVP. But yeah, it would be way better, man, if we could watch the fights together. I wish. Whoops. I wish there was like a broadcasting license that you could buy from the UFC. Like in the UK, if you want to watch or if you want to broadcast like Premier League football or something, you can buy like a broadcasting license, which obviously it costs a lot of money. I think it's like it depends on how many people are going to be viewing, but I think it's like 20 grand in the UK. Be really cool if the UFC sold broadcasting licenses, where I could pay the UFC like 20 grand for an extended license, then just actually show the fights in these fight research sessions. Like that would make these way better, but they don't offer anything like that, unfortunately. Otherwise I would definitely buy it. So sync up the first round of Holland against Ponzinibbio for me. And let's get into it. So it starts at 1 minute 46 seconds. That's 1 minute 46 seconds on Fight Pass. Let's get it going in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. Let's go, go, go. Let's see what we got. So we've seen Ponzinibbio hammer Holland with a couple hard leg kicks now. Obviously, Page was able to stop Yamauchi with leg kicks. It'll be interesting to see in some of Page's other fights how many leg kicks he throws. Because what I'm noticing about Holland here is he's not reading the leg kicks at all. He just doesn't see him coming. And he does have quite skinny legs at welterweight. So I think that's a way that you could really, like, look, you can see it there, right? Ponzinibbio goes to the opposite leg now. I mean, look at how skinny Holland's legs are. Like, that is a real vulnerable. Well, again, another inside leg kick. I don't, when I've watched MVP years ago in Bellator, I don't recall him throwing that many leg kicks, but maybe he does. And if he does, that could be a huge problem for Holland, especially because MVP does strike me as a very intelligent striker. And so you'd anticipate MVP is obviously doing his homework like we are, watching some of these fights, trying to build a game plan and strategy that's capable of causing Holland problems. You also notice that when Ponzinibbio gets close enough to Holland that he can land, Holland kind of flails his arms around a little bit, and he doesn't really read Ponzinibbio's attacks particularly well. He seems like a bit of a sitting duck when Ponzinibbio backs him up, but I think the length of Holland is really helping, or really making it difficult for Ponzinibbio to get close enough to land anything too clean. Whereas obviously he's not going to have that luxury against MVP that's just as long as him. But he does look very uncomfortable when Pons comes forward aggressively, like you see in sequences like this, right? Again, like little sequences like that, when Ponzinibbio lands that hard outside leg kick, he just doesn't see it coming. He's not reading it at all. We'll say this about Holland though, he's eaten a lot of hard leg kicks in this round and it hasn't affected him at all. Hasn't affected his mobility, hasn't really reacted it too much, like instantly recovering. He's keeping a good poker face. What I am also interested in is obviously MVP likes to showboat and Kevin Holland likes to talk a lot in there, so be interesting to see the dynamic between these two on Saturday night. It's a great fight. I don't think Holland's boxing defense is the best though. He does a good job of using his length at distance in the middle of the octagon to chip away at you, but as soon as you put a little bit of pressure on him, defensively he's not the best. It'd be interesting to see what MVP's striking defense is like in a cage that's obviously going to be a lot bigger than that BKFC ring. Leg kicks definitely a vulnerability in Holland's game. He's just not reading Ponzinibbio's leg kicks at all. He just doesn't see them coming. Pretty much every leg kick that Ponzinibbio's committed to, he's been able to land clean and hard. Alright guys, let's get into round 2. Really enjoyed that round. Ponzinibbio actually did better than I remember him doing. He looked good, man. So round 2 starts at, it will be about 7 minutes and 57 seconds. So sync up round 2 for me. 7 minutes 57 seconds. 7 minutes 57. Let's get it going in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. Here we go. So I think Ponzinibbio got into the double digits in terms of really clean, hard, impactful leg kicks that he landed in round 1. It didn't affect Holland's mobility at all. Be interesting to see if Holland's mobility gets affected in any way in this second round, if Ponzinibbio can keep landing them. I mean, he spun Holland around a couple times. See, there's another one there. Very early in the round. But there's a little bit of a change in dynamic at the start of round 2, where in round 1, Ponzinibbio was leading the dance. He was the guy coming forward. And Holland was looking to counter-strike, whereas now, Holland is the aggressor. He's leading the dance, and he's trying to put Ponzinibbio on the back foot. Literally, as I say that, there's another change in dynamic where Pons is getting aggressive. So both guys battling for control at the moment. Holland was happy to concede it in round 1, but now he wants to lead the dance in round 2. Possibly because his legs are starting to hurt, and he might be thinking, I can't just stand at distance and allow this guy to hammer my legs. I've got to take away his time and space, walk him down where it'll be difficult for him, or more difficult for him to get the time and space to land him. But are you guys noticing, like, leg kicks are a big vulnerability in Holland's game? He's kept a very good poker face, but Pons has been hammering his legs. And when Holland fires back with kicks, they just don't have as much impactfulness on them. They're more range-finding kicks than damaging kicks. Be interesting to see if Holland had any success, or if Jack Madalena had any success with leg kicks. Because we were saying earlier on how he's got a very purely boxing-based style of fighting. But I'm very, very impressed with Holland's ability. Like, look at it, like, these leg kicks are so nasty, man. Very impressed with his ability to just eat those leg kicks and continue coming forward. Like, it still hasn't affected his mobility at all. You can see that the length of Holland has made it really, really difficult for Ponzinibbio to get his boxing going. I'm looking forward to seeing how Thompson's boxing looked against Holland, to get a better look at Holland's striking defense. Alright, that's the end of round 2. So sync up round 3 for me now. Let's get round 3 going. So round 3 starts at... So round 3 starts at 14 minutes and 15 seconds on Fight Pass. 14 minutes 15 seconds on Fight Pass. So sync that up for me. Sync it up for me, guys. Sync it up. So Eugene is saying the Holland's boxing defense looked really good against Madalena, and that the Wonderboy fight was competitive up until Holland broke his arm. Do you know what round he broke his arm in? Because that'll be useful to know before we watch it. You guys remember? Let me know, guys, if you remember. So anyway, let's get into this third round. Sync it up, get it going. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. Let's go, 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 go. I'm really impressed by how much damage Ponzinibbio's been able to inflict to Holland's legs, and it just hasn't affected Holland at all. Like, his mobility hasn't changed at all. Still moving exactly the same in round 3 as he did in round 1, as Pons literally hammers his lead leg again. It's quite impressive. So I think what we'll do after this, we'll watch MVP in an MMA fight. Then we can really start to visualize how these two match up. Okay, so that's the first time on that most recent leg kick the Ponzinibbio landed where it looks to start to be affecting Holland a little, because his leg almost gave out then. But like I say, the most concerning thing about these leg kicks for me is that Holland is just not reading them. Pons has probably landed 15 or 20 of them, and Holland just doesn't see him coming. He's just got no idea. Which is a huge issue, because you'd think Ponzinibbio would be a lot easier to read than someone like MVP. So if Holland isn't reading leg kicks, what else might he not be able to read against a striker as dynamic as Page? Now you can start to see Holland's mobility is affected by the leg kicks. His leg's starting to give out now. But it's taken until the 13th minute of the fight for that to happen. It's very impressive. But the length of Holland is giving Ponzinibbio hell. He just hasn't had any success with his boxing at all. So I'm looking forward to see how Madalena does. A very nice knockout win from Mr. Holland. So now, let's take a look at MVP. So we'll take a look at his last MMA fight against Logan Storley. Let's pull that up. Is this a 5-rounder? 3-rounder? It's 5-rounder. Okay. Do you think we can get away with watching this together? What do we think? What are the odds? The problem with a fight like this is the Storley style is absolutely nothing like MVP's. Hey, what's up, Eldar, mate? We're researching MVP against Kevin Holland. Hope you're doing good, mate. So, thanks Eugene and Carhen. I really appreciate it. So it looks like Holland might have broken his arm in round 1. Alright. Hair in my mouth. Alright, here we go. Alright, let's check out this fight against Page versus Storley. See what we got. Sorry, 2 secs. I just want to take a quick look at Page's record and see if he's fought anyone that is anything like Holland. Hasn't. Which is really disappointing. None of these guys, to my knowledge, are anything like Kevin Holland. Which is very frustrating. Carhen is asking about breakdown videos for the prelims. So basically, it takes me so long to research a UFC card. So if we look at this card, there's 14 fights on it, and every fight is super complex. So it's going to take me like a really long time to research all of these fights. So the way that I do things is I research the main card, and then I try to put a video out on YouTube by like Thursday for the main card, and then the prelim fights, because I often don't finish researching the prelim fights till like Friday night, sometimes even Saturday, the day of the fights. I just don't get time to put out YouTube videos for the prelims because I'd just be posting them to YouTube way too late. On top of that, you know, some of my breakdown videos are like 20 to 30 minutes just for one fight. So if I were to put breakdowns out on YouTube for every single fight on a card, I'd be putting out like 4, 5, 6 hours of videos on YouTube every week, which I don't do because they would just be uploaded too late. And so what I do is, if we go to my website, oh man, we've been temporarily blocked. No way. No way. What is going on? Guys, can you still see me? Or is the stream still rolling? Let me know, guys. We still rolling? It says we've been temporarily blocked. But are we back up? Can you guys hear me? Let me know. Let me know. Can you guys still hear me? There we go, guys. We're back. We're back. We're back. We're back. Guys, the ban hammer came. But thank you for sticking around, man. Thank you for sticking around. The ban hammer came. Tempted fate. Shouldn't have done it, boys. Always happens, man. It's so frustrating. You guys can see me now, though, yeah? We all good? I think my hopefully my channel didn't just get some kind of strike or something. I'm hoping that didn't happen. Let me take a quick look. I think we're good. I don't think there was a strike, anything like that. But anyway, we're back, boys. We're back. So yeah, man. Unfortunately, we can't watch. Unfortunately, we can't watch the fight, which was really annoying. Can't watch the fight. Anyway, we'll pick up where we left off. So Kahan was asking about prelim breakdowns. I don't know how far I got through my explanation, but basically, it takes me so long to research a UFC card because it just takes so much time, right? So I'm often still researching fights on Friday or even Saturdays, the day of the fight. So if I was to put out breakdown videos for every fight on a UFC card, it would just go on YouTube way too late, and the videos in their entirety would be like 4, 5, 6 hours long, because sometimes, you know, I'll record 20, 30, even 40-minute breakdowns just on one fight sometimes if it's a really complex fight. So what I do is I have a breakdown video section on my website, and basically what I do is I've got this list of all the fights on a card, and I will, once I've researched a fight, change it to completed, and I'll say who I think will win, who I think is the better bet. But then underneath, we've also got breakdown videos for every single fight on every single card. So like if we look at the videos up at the moment, these are the videos from last week's card, Gaziev versus Rosenstrike. So you can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 breakdown videos from last week's card. And what I do is, as I work my way through researching each of those or each of these matchups, I'll upload individual breakdown videos on the website. So if you want to watch my breakdown videos for all the prelim fights, you can catch them on my website. Just because if I were to upload them to YouTube, I probably wouldn't even get the video online until fight day, and by then no one's got time to watch like 5-6 hours worth of breakdown videos. But they're like the videos are like a nice strategy guide that you guys can use for betting the fights during fight week. And obviously if I bet any of the prelims, then I talk about my bets in the videos. So if you want to watch the prelim breakdowns, you can just head on over to my site, check them out on there, man, for anyone who finds that useful. So next up, let us get back to this fight between Storley and Page. Now what's really annoying is we can't watch this together anymore. So I'm going to paste the link into YouTube, and we'll have to do it the old-fashioned way with the countdown clock, which is super annoying. Let's delete that as well. So here it is on Twitch. There we go. Alright, let's get it going, man. So let's sync this up. It's a shame we can't watch it all together, but fuck it. So sync up round 2 of Storley versus Page for me, which is on that video. It started 2 hours 7 minutes and 2 seconds. That's 2 hours 7 minutes and 2 seconds. So I'll just give you a minute to sync that up. Get it synced up for a minute. Alright, let's get it going. So Kahan, yeah, if you want the breakdown, or what camera am I on? Let's switch back over here. Yeah, if you want to watch the breakdown videos for the prelim fights, they'll all be on my website. Alright, so let's get into this next one. Round 2, Storley Page. Let's get it going in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. Let's go, 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 go. Here we go. Alright, so it'll be interesting to see if we get a little bit of striking from Page here, because he was wet blanketed for most of that first round. The thing is, when you see Page like this doing all this showboating, all these feints, it's much easier to do this against a smaller guy like Storley. It's going to be so much harder to use this style against Holland because of how long Holland fights. We're not seeing any leg kicks from Page either, which is disappointing with how much success Ponzinibbio had with them. What I find really difficult to assess when we're trying to predict how someone like MVP will do is the matchmaking he was given was so soft in Bellator. Like, you look at how small Storley is, how much of a basic striker he is. Like, it's possible that MVP's style may just not be effective against the top guys in the UFC. Like, it might just all be like hollow flim flam. Do you know what I mean? Like, he may look great styling on these lower level strikers, but when he starts facing, it's going to be a massive step up now in the UFC. You've got to really question how effective MVP's style is going to be, because he doesn't really put a lot on his punches. I know he's got a lot of highlight reel knockouts where he'll catch guys with those straight punches and send them to the shadow realm. But outside of that, when he's throwing volume strikes, he's really just touching you. It is point fighting. And when you have that style, it can be really, really difficult to win rounds beyond all reasonable doubt. Like, put solid rounds in the bank. Because you're not really damaging guys. You're not really landing particularly impactful shots. You don't have a particularly judge-pleasing style. And we know how the judges can be in MMA. And MVP is just laughing in these positions. He's smiling and stuff when he should be more urgency, showing more urgency to work through positions like this. It's really frustrating. But he is difficult to control, which is good to see. Storley's really struggled to establish dominant positions, and MVP's done a great job of scrambling over to the cage every time Storley's got him down. Again, he's just smiling. It's very frustrating to watch. This has really been the first time in almost 10 minutes where Storley's come close to flattening him out. I mean, there's no real point in talking about the grappling, because I think it's very unlikely we see grappling in this fight. But it's not going to be easy to control this guy unless you're willing to use a lot of chain wrestling, which I doubt Holland is. Alright, let's get into round 3. So round 3 starts at... So this starts at 2 minutes and... or 2 hours and 13 seconds. That's 2 hours 13. 2 hours 13 seconds. Let's get it going. 2 hours 13. Let's get it going. Alright. 2 hours 13, guys. Alright. Let's get it going in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. So unfortunately, haven't seen too much of Page's striking, and what we have seen doesn't tell us a whole lot because Storley on the feet is just in a defensive shell. Really looking forward to seeing the Stephen Thompson Holland fight. Seeing how Holland looked before breaking his arm. Because for me, even though Page is I feel he's a lot faster than Thompson, he doesn't throw anywhere near the volume that Thompson does from memory. He's kind of just trying to pot shot you and point fight. But the problem with MVP's style is he just doesn't land much volume. And this is against a guy who is much smaller than him, who isn't a striker, who doesn't have knockout power. And yet he's not really causing Storley that many problems on the feet, which is a huge red flag. Like, you'd be expecting Page to be lighting him up. And that hasn't happened. Which is a concern when you think of how much better of a striker Holland is than Page. And now, really for the first time in the fight, Storley's been able... Oh, actually, I spoke too soon. See Page talking to his corner and stuff, but even though he's been difficult to flatten out and hold down, hasn't shown tons of urgency to work through these positions, which is really disappointing. He's done a great job of scrambling over to the cage and making it difficult for Storley to flatten him out, but he just hasn't. There's Robbie Lawler in Storley's corner. He just hasn't shown a great deal of urgency to stand back up. You know what? I'm just going to skim through and see if he spends the rest of the round on the bottom. He does. Let's kill this fight, man. Let's kill this fight dead, because that's the 3 rounds done. We don't need to watch rounds 4 and 5. And he basically just gets wet blanketed for the rest of this round, so it's kind of a waste of time continuing to watch it. So, what fight shall we watch next? Switch over to here. What do you think, man? What do you think? What fight should we watch next? How about... Ross Houston's just a dog. Anderson's an even bigger dog. Let's watch the Douglas Lima fight, just because Lima is a very technical striker. His style's completely different to Holland's, but I don't feel the Storley fight told us anything about how Page may match up against like a decent level of striker. See what Lima's wingspan is as well, and compare him to Holland. So Lima 6'1", 74.5-inch reach. Holland is 6'3", 81-inch reach. Alright, so Holland definitely a lot longer and taller than Lima is. Alright. So what I will do, guys, is drop in the Lima fight as well. So if you can sync this one up for me. There we go. And we'll drop it in Twitch as well. So I'll find it for you now. The Douglas Lima fight starts at 2 hours and 25 minutes on this stream. So sync that one up for me. So the exact start time is 2 hours, 26 minutes and 58 seconds. That's 2 hours, 26 minutes, 58 seconds. Just catch up on the comments. Danny P is saying there's a good chance it ends up like Izzy versus Anderson or Yair versus Caceres. Just a glorified sparring match. Two Scoops is asking, why is MVP coming to the UFC? Seems like he made a good career in Bellator and he's just going to get destroyed in the UFC. You know, I think guys like, if you think about it, like guys like MVP, they probably think they're the best in the world. You can see he's got a big ego. You can see he's cocky and confident. Like in Page's head, I bet he's thinking, I can come to the UFC and win the belt. Because, you know, I think to be a fighter, you've got to be a bit delusional, right? Otherwise, like, if you were actually like a rational thinker, you'd be crazy to go into the octagon and fight in your underwear to the death against another human, right? That's like crazy dangerous. So I think these fighters, man, they're just a different breed. Good luck, Sigma, mate. Good luck, dude. Alright. Let's get into this next one. Sync it up. Get it going. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. Let's go, let's go. So I think after this, what we'll do is we'll watch the Stephen Thompson and Holland fight. And then we'll watch Holland Madalena, which will be a nice segue into Madalena Gilbert Burns. But I don't think the opponents the Pages fought are going to really help us too much. Is trying to figure out how Page is likely to do against Holland, although very, very nice right hand there from Page. He's very, very fast for a 36-year-old. Like, he fights more like a 26-year-old. And you know what? When you see a lot of movement like this from Page, where every time Lima gets close enough to land something, he just backs up a little bit. What Danny P said is interesting to me, where he said it's probably just going to be a glorified like a glorified sparring match. I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised, because Page is one of those guys that he's so elusive that if he doesn't engage with you like he did against Mike Perry, it's very difficult to land anything on him. But then at the same time, he doesn't throw a particularly high volume either. And Kevin Holland's not really an aggressive guy. I don't think Holland's the kind of guy to take the fight to Page. I think Holland, for the most part, wants to stand at distance and use his length to chip away at you. So when you've got two guys that want to do that, it's not the best dynamic for a fight. I'm trying to think. I've got in my head, I can't remember his opponent, but I remember there was the odd fight involving Lyoto Machida. We'd have the same sort of thing. Lyoto Machida would want to be on the outside and counter-strike with his karate style, similar to Page. And then when he faced someone else that would want to counter-strike, you would just get this giant nothing burger where nothing would happen. They would both kind of bounce around a lot, but there would be very little end product from either fighter. I could see that happening here. And someone else mentioned earlier on, I think it was Jeff Bruno, said that he quite likes the over on this fight. I think it was -150. I can see why. Because I can see a situation where both guys just show each other tons of respect. They both don't really want to overcommit and engage. They're both trying to bait the other into going first so that they can look to counter. And you just end up with long periods of inactivity where it's kind of like a game of chicken. They're both waiting for the other to go first. Neither of them goes first, so nothing happens. A little bit like, remember when Derek Lewis fought Francis Ngannou? I expected there to be a lot more activity than that fight. But it's the same sort of principle where when you've got two guys that don't want to engage or show each other a lot of respect, a lot of the time you get these fights where not a lot happens. Yeah, you know what, come booming, mate. I'm gonna do another double live stream tomorrow where we'll research O'Malley versus Marlon Vera, and we'll also do Yadong Song versus Peter Yan in that stream, because again there's a crossover when obviously Sean O'Malley fought Peter Yan, so that's like another perfect crossover stream. And I might do Dustin Poirier Benoit Saint-Denis after this. I know this is going to be a long stream by the time we're done with Burns Madalena, but I really would like to get the main card wrapped up by tomorrow, and in order to do that I'm going to need to get through Saint-Denis Poirier. Page just looking so weak off his back. Oh, I'm on the wrong camera as well. There we go. Oh, nice one, 2 scoops, mate. I appreciate that, man. Cheers, mate. Yeah, I want to try and live stream my research for the whole main card this week if I can, just because it's so rare that we get a card these days with 5 amazing fights on the main card. It's just not a thing anymore in the UFC. But this week, what's crazy is like every single main card fight this week could easily headline like the type of fight night card we had last week. Also, I will say this: am I crazy, or is UFC 299 better than UFC 300? What do we think, guys? What do we think? I think UFC 299 is a lot better. Personally. Do you agree? Don't get me wrong. Gaethje Holloway, banger. Tazrukian Oliveira, banger. To be fair, UFC 300 is looking decent, to be fair. It is looking decent. But UFC 299 looking pretty fucking decent as well. I love these fights. I think they're incredible. UFC 300 pretty solid. I think UFC 299 slightly better. Let me know what you think. Let me know what you think. What a card. We got 2 amazing cards coming up to look forward to, though. I am loving it. Loving it, loving it, loving it. Alright, let's get into the second round now between Lima and Page. It starts at 2 hours, 33 minutes and 10 seconds. That's 2 hours, 33 minutes and 10 seconds. Let's go, let's go. 2 hours, 33 minutes, 10 seconds. Mo Sharif likes Madalena, Peter Yan. Madalena and Peter Yan, nice, man. Alright, let's get this next one going. So sync it up, get it going in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. Let's go, 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 go. So again, didn't get to see tons of Page's striking in round 1 with how much time he spent on the bottom, but surely he's got to have a decent amount of success with his striking in rounds 2 and 3 because he won a split decision. The thing with Lima is Lima was passive throughout his whole career, right? You never really got too much volume out of Lima. Like when you see Page cover distance quickly and just sting a guy with a jab, it's so much easier to land those sort of shots on someone with a wingspan and the stance of a Logan Storley or a Douglas Lima than someone like Kevin Holland, who's very light on his feet, uses length well, he's tall. It's just different, man. See, just very little volume from Page. He landed 2 punches in the last 2 minutes. And when you have a style like this, and the way MMA judges can be, it's just so dangerous. I mean, you can look on Page's record, right? He's fought through a few split decisions, and you can see why. He's just one of those guys that just isn't going to go out and put his stamp on rounds. He's so passive. I hate betting on guys like this because their room for error is so slim. When you've got a guy like Page who just relies on landing such a low volume of strikes or knocking you out. If he just gives up one takedown at a bad time or gets flash knocked down, it makes the fight so much harder for him to win because he just doesn't do very much. Like when we use the example of Mike Perry, I'd much rather bet on a guy who's nowhere near as skilled but who will actually go for it. You know, who will actually let his hands go. Because this ain't it, man. So passive. So passive. And the thing is, like, when I watch this, my lean is flipping to Kevin Holland. However, I do think when you face someone like Page, you can easily become kind of mesmerized by their style. And you can also kind of, I'm not going to say go into a defensive shell, but find it difficult to get off and land your own shots. Because you can see it, right? Every time Lima gets close enough to Page where he could potentially land a punch, Page is just staying just outside of a range where he can land. So it is tricky. I'm really looking forward to watching Thompson versus Holland now. Because I feel, obviously Holland MVP, Thompson MVP, really similar styles. The main difference is you get more volume from Thompson, but Page is a lot faster than Thompson. Those are like the two big differences. But be interesting to see what Holland's striking defense looks like against someone like Thompson. And that might just give us a little bit of an indication as to how much success MVP might have with these counters where he kind of springs forward and looks to land a big straight punch down the middle. But you know what I would say about Page's style? He is trying to knock you out. Very little volume. And remember what Chael Sonnen said, when you try and win a fight by knockout, you often end up losing a decision. And I think MVP is going to lose a lot of decisions in the UFC because he just doesn't do enough. And with the way MMA judges are, even if you slightly outstrike your opponent, you're taking a big gamble because half the time the judges aren't fucking paying attention. So you really, really need to put it on your opponent to win rounds beyond all reasonable doubt in the UFC. And it shouldn't be like that, but we know it is. And MVP does not have a judge-pleasing style. I feel MVP is one of these guys where if he doesn't knock you out, his fights are almost always going to be razor close. Because he just isn't the kind of guy that's going to go out there and put it on you. Do you know what I mean? He's not like a Jairzinho Rosenstrike last weekend. I mean, how many jabs did Rosenstrike land on Gaziev? Do you know what I mean? It had to be, I don't know, 30, 40, 50 jabs. It was a lot of fucking jabs. Do you know what I'm saying? That's what you want to see. A lot of volume, a lot of damage inflicted. And then it's so much harder for the judges to make the wrong decision. So, sync up the third round for me now, which starts at 2 hours, 39 minutes. That's 2 hours, 39 minutes. Sync it up for me, guys. Let's get it going. Sync it up. Let's go. That is a great fight. 2 Scoops is saying, you know what? I can see that happening as well. MVP against Jake Paul. With MVP clearly looking for the money fights now with his appearance in BKFC, you'd think it's only a matter of time before they probably do a matchup like that. I think they're similar size as well, aren't they? Similar weight class. Jake likes to fight at middleweight, but about the same size, I think. So let's get this next one going. Start in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. So very, very little volume from MVP. Very disappointing. Thing is, when you see like MVP just stepping in with these jabs, he's just not scoring, man. He just isn't scoring. He just isn't scoring. Like, the judges aren't going to give a fuck about the odd jab here and there. They just don't score. Like, MVP, unless he knocks you down, he's just not really achieving anything with his style, you know? You know what, boys? This is why fight research is really, really important, because before researching this fight, I was heavily leaning towards Michael Venom Page. Like, heavily leaning towards him, and I was strongly considering a bet on Michael Venom Page, like, big time. Now, I'm completely changing my opinion. This is why I always say fight research is so important. Because your mind will play tricks on you. I had a perception of MVP. And I thought at underdog odds he would be a great bet. There is no way I would touch this guy. There's just no way I would touch him. No way. He just doesn't do enough. And if you think about it, Kevin Holland's got a granite chin. He's tough as nails. It isn't going to be easy for MVP to knock Holland out. And if the fight goes to a decision, it is so unlikely that MVP will win the fight decisively because he just doesn't do very much. So if you bet MVP, I feel at best you're hoping he wins a very close decision. And with his odds being, 2.0 plus 100, they carry an implied probability of obviously 50%. There's just no value there on MVP at all. I'm definitely leaning towards Kevin Holland now. He looks awful. I'm not going to say he looks awful. That's not the appropriate thing for me to say. He doesn't look awful. But he does spend the rest of this round on the bottom. So I would say as well, what's going on with the scoring? This is a really bad decision. This is a really, really bad decision. Douglas Lima won that fight 29-28. Guys, how did you score that fight? That was 29-28 Lima, right? This is a bit of a bullshit decision. Let's take a look on MMA decisions. Lima won that fight. How did the MMA media have it? I think that to me looked like a very bad decision. Yeah, very bad decision. Almost everyone scored the fight for Lima. I was just watching that and thinking, how the fuck has MVP won that? Lima had 2 clear rounds in the bank. That was a really, really bad decision, in my opinion. Very bad. MVP got dropped in round 3. That was a pretty bad decision, in my opinion. But that's just me. Alright, boys. Just keeping a close eye on the meme coins. You know what I mean? Gotta keep a close eye on them. But anyway. Very disappointed in Mr. Page. I think I'm done watching footage on Mr. Page. I think I've seen all I need to see. But what we need to do now is watch a bit of footage on Mr. Holland. We'll see how he looks in the Thompson fight. We've already spent quite a long time on this fight, and I feel like I've already got a pretty good read on it. So I might not watch the whole Thompson fight, because with Holland breaking his arm quite early into this matchup, I don't really see the point of watching, you know, Holland fight for 2 or 3 rounds with a broken arm when it's not really giving us a true reflection of how he's likely to perform. But obviously the Madalena fight is going to be very useful to watch. So let's check out the Thompson fight and see what we've got. Grab you guys the link now. And if anyone knows exactly when Holland broke his arm in this fight, I would love to know, because then we can kind of let him off the hook a little bit if he doesn't look particularly good in some rounds. Because we know he's injured. So sync that one up for me, guys. So this starts at 3 minutes and 16 seconds on Fight Pass. That's 3 minutes and 16 seconds on Fight Pass. Sync it up for me, guys. 3 minutes 16. Let's get it going. 3 minutes 16. Let's get it going. Alright, sync it up, sync it up. Let's get it going in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. Oh, nice one, Jeff. So Jeff just let us know that the shot, so Holland basically drops Thompson towards the end of round 1, and that's when he breaks his hand or his arm. Nice one, Jeff, mate. Okay, so those sort of entries from Holland are a little bit concerning. He kind of just comes forward in a straight line, and similar to Page, Thompson just stands his ground and fires the right hand straight down the pipe, and it landed clean and hard. Now, Holland's got an amazing chin and a really good poker face, but if he is just going to be running forward in straight lines, he is going to be a sitting duck to the counter. You can see Holland kind of touching his left eye now, because, you know, of that shot that landed. And that's different from, obviously, Logan. He done it again. He done it again. So he done it again. He done it again. Look at this. Look at this. So Holland's striking defense is looking really bad. He's just running forward in straight lines. And Thompson's just firing the straight punches right down the pipe, similar to what Page does. He's catching him clean and hard. And that's different from Douglas Lima and Logan Storley. They kind of stood back. They were very patient. Were in a defensive shell. They respected MVP. And that made it difficult for MVP to get off and land anything too clean and hard. Here you can see Holland looking very sloppy as he comes forward. Very reckless. You could easily see him walking onto those big counters that... Even there, look. Even there. So I know Holland got the better of that exchange. But Holland came forward, planted his feet right in front of Thompson, and ate an absolute bomb from Thompson. It was only that, obviously, Thompson was hurt more in that exchange. I mean, Holland's clearly got an amazing chin, but is very reckless, very bad defensively. So this fight is really useful, man. I don't think I'm going to bet this fight, guys. I don't think I'm going to bet this fight. I've kind of flip-flopped. I was feeling like a bet on MVP might be great. Then I was thinking like a bet on Holland might be great. But both guys have shown me big red flags that I don't like. And I think watching footage of these two, visualizing how they match up, this is definitely a fight that can go either way. I don't feel too strongly either way at all. I hate MVP's inactivity, but like, look at that there. Holland again comes forward in a straight line, hands down, chin up high and exposed, eats a clean hard left hand counter. And I know Holland is tough. I know he's got a great chin. But defensively, he looks really bad here. So it's very... Oh, look, like, look at this. He just didn't read Thompson at all. He ate a fucking bomb. He ate a bomb. His defense looks very bad. This is a very difficult fight to feel confident on either way. I don't even know at this point who my lean is. I'm not sure. I've flip-flopped so many times on this fight. Holland's striking defense looks really bad. It looks really, really, really bad, man. So at this point, Holland is still throwing combinations with both hands. So his arm or his hand is not broken at this stage in the fight, right? He looks fine at the moment. Does he say anything to his corner in between rounds? No, so he looks fine in between rounds as well. He's kind of like talking to his corner. He's like doing the thing with the towel. He seems fine to me. So I don't think Holland has a broken hand or a broken arm at this stage in the fight. It must happen in round 2. Let me know what you think, guys. Let me know what you think. No, Luis Perez, mate. We're going to watch the Holland Madalena next. What's up, Bab? Hope you're doing good, mate. Hey, Suzanne. Hope you're doing good. We are going to... We're going to research Gilbert Burns and Jack Madallena as well after this fight. So we're almost done with MVP and Holland now, and then we'll move into Gilbert, Burns, Madalena. I might do Poirier versus Saint-Denis later as well. We'll see how it goes, man. So let's get into round 2 now. So it doesn't look like Holland has a broken hand or arm yet. He looks fine to me. So let's get this second round going. It starts at 9 minutes and 27 seconds. That's 9 minutes 27. 9 minutes 27 seconds. Sync it up for me, guys. Let's get it going. Sync it up. 9 minutes 27 seconds. Let's go, let's go. Let's go in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. So what I'm paying attention to now is what the Holland's combinations look like. Is he throwing combinations with both hands? What point does he break his hand? Defensively, he looks very bad here. And similarly to when he wasn't reading the leg kicks from Ponzinibbio, he's not reading Thompson's counter strikes either. Just doesn't see him coming. He just happens to have an amazing chin. Holland is very... I'm not going to say Holland is very bad defensively, but Holland's striking defense is... I mean, it's not good. But what I like about Holland is that he actually lets his hands go. Compared to MVP that just does absolutely nothing. So I don't even think at this point in the fight Holland's dealing with a broken arm, because he's still throwing punches, both hands, still throwing combinations. I mean, he just blocked a head kick a moment ago. Maybe he broke his arm off blocking that head kick. And it was his right arm, so we'll see if he throws the right arm or right hand, or if he stops. So Holland hasn't thrown a punch in the last minute. There's been like a noticeable drop in value from him. Noticeable drop in volume from him. Yeah, notice how he's not really throwing punches anymore. So I'm guessing Holland broke his arm when he blocked that head kick. Yeah, it was his right arm that he blocked the kick with, and he's only throwing his left hand. So I'm guessing midway through round 2 is when he broke his arm. Up until then he was fine. Like, he hasn't thrown a punch with it. Like, even there, see how he's like leading with his left hand? He's not throwing his right hand at all. Now he's tough as nails because he's keeping a really good poker face. It's like the Ponzinibbio fight, where Ponzinibbio was just hammering him with those leg kicks. You wouldn't know he was hurt at this point unless we were like looking for it. But the fact that we know he did break his arm and now he hasn't thrown a single punch with his right hand in like 2 minutes, when he was very aggressive with it before that, makes a lot of sense. Notice how he's only throwing kicks and a left hand. So I don't think there's any point in watching the 3rd or 4th round, because we're not really getting a look at Holland at his best. So I think we should move into the Madalena fight now. Once this round is done. And then we'll learn a lot more about Holland from the Madalena fight. Even there, see that? Even there, he threw an elbow instead of a punch with that right arm. Alright, let's watch the Madalena fight. And yeah, I'm not going to be betting Holland versus MVP, man. Not going to do it. I don't see a particularly strong position on either side. I don't like MVP's inactivity. And I don't like Holland's striking defense. My lean would be Kevin Holland, just because I prefer the better guy like Holland that actually lets his hands go. But not with any amount of confidence. In fact, let's check the implied probability on it. Let me know how you're feeling about this fight though, guys. Let me know what you think. Let me see. So Holland is around about a 1.75 favourite. Minus 133 for an implied probability of 57%. Dunno, man. It's a tricky one for me, man. Very, very tricky. It's very tricky. Alright. Let's get into the Madalena fight. So what I will do is drop in the links. So this fight starts at 1 minute 50 seconds. So sync this one up for me. 1 minute 50 seconds. One minute 50 seconds. Sync it up, guys. Let's get it going. Starts at 1 minute 50. Alright. Let's get it going. In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. So again, just like in Holland's fight against Ponzinibbio, we're already seeing Madalena have a lot of success with leg kicks. He's already hammered that lead leg 3 times. Now Ponzinibbio wasn't really able to affect Holland's mobility. It'll be interesting if Madalena can. I thought Madalena had like a pure boxing style, but he's disguising those leg kicks very nicely. Do you know what? This fight is in the even money odds range, and it's one of those fights where I have absolutely no idea who's going to win. It's like a true 50-50 fight. I have no idea. Because again, you can see in this matchup, Holland's striking defense is really bad. He just doesn't read his opponents particularly well. He's just a bit of a sitting duck on the feet. And obviously MVP's a sniper. Just doesn't fire many shots. But it's a very, very difficult fight to predict. Because for me, it's kind of like, is the volume and the work rate of Holland versus the speed, the accuracy of MVP. And MVP is way more elusive than Holland. Like, he's going to be way harder for Holland to get to. And every time Holland does come forward aggressively and look to land on MVP, MVP's just going to look to counter him. And MVP did a great job of countering Perry, who came forward recklessly. So if Holland comes forward like he did against Madalena, or Thompson, he's going to be in a lot of trouble. Like where you see Holland shell up and look to roll with the punches when Madalena gets in close, he's just going to be a sitting duck against someone like MVP that is so fast and so accurate. It's just not going to work. Against MVP, you've got to back up. You can't stand in front of him like that. Fortunately for Holland, he's got an amazing chin. So I think it's time we turned our attention to Mr. Madalena, because we're now segueing into researching Madalena Burns. So for me, I have no real strong lean either way on Holland versus MVP, which is a bit disappointing. I would like to have bet that fight, but it is what it is, man. Better to just pass than, you know, put your money in a position where you're in a lot of danger. So we'll get into round 2 now, which starts at 8 minutes and 8 seconds. That's 8 minutes and 8 seconds. 8 minutes and 8 seconds. Hey, what's up, Joey, mate? Joey is saying, where do you see that Holland causes MVP issues if it's a stand-up fight? I think we're more worried about MVP's volume than Holland doing anything. I'm probably betting MVP. So what I'm really worried about is MVP dancing around Holland a lot, showboating a lot, and just popping in with the occasional jab, but barely landing anything, and Holland just outworking him slightly. Like a really good example would be, do you know the Brandon Royval versus Brandon Moreno fight? If you go and watch those rounds, Royval barely landed anything. If you go and watch what was actually happening, Moreno was catching the vast majority of Royval's shots on the hands, the arms, the gloves. But judges were scoring rounds in favour of Royval because he was just doing more. He was just out hustling Moreno. Now, I disagree with that. I think you should only count strikes landed. And Moreno was blocking a huge percentage of Royval's strikes. But Royval looked the busier, more active fighter. And so he got the decision. I'd be really worried about that for MVP because he just doesn't do very much. And I think if you look at MVP's record, whenever you see a guy that has fought to multiple split decisions, it tells a bit of a story as to what their style is. I was talking about this with the guys in live betting with Eric Anders last weekend, where if you look at Eric Anders' record, he's fought to so many split decisions, and I said at the time, this is a guy that always finds a way to make life difficult for himself, and what happens first round, he gets knocked down twice by Jamie Pickett. It's just one of those things where I don't have enough faith in MMA judges to be betting a guy like MVP in the UFC. I know I'm putting my money in so much danger. Because even if he does outstrike Kevin Holland, I can't trust the judges to actually give him credit for it. So now let's get into round 2. It starts in 8 minutes 8 seconds. Let's get going in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. Let's go, go, go. Let's go. What I am noticing in this fight is that Holland just doesn't really have the power in his hands to back Madalena up. Madalena's really got that tankiness about him, where Holland just doesn't appear to be able to hurt him. Like Madalena's easily able to work his way inside and force Holland into that uncomfortable range. And you know what? Madalena's striking defense actually looks really good. If you think about it, Holland's got a huge reach advantage in this fight. He's a lot longer, he's quite unpredictable. And Madalena does a really good job of using head movement to fight his way inside. But Holland hasn't really landed very much. It's too clean in this fight. Madalena's done a really, really good job of outboxing him. Yeah, I'm really impressed by Madalena's striking defense. I thought he was like a reckless brawler, but defensively he looks excellent in this matchup. Which is interesting because obviously, you know, a guy like Kevin Holland throws a lot of volume. From memory, Gilbert Burns is much more of a single shot power striker. Burns doesn't throw it anywhere near the same sort of volume as Holland does. Little look up at the clock from Jack. But his cardio looks great. I think he's just seeing if he's in the business end of the round yet, and needs to try and finish the round strong, because it's a close round, this. Yeah, look at this. Beautiful combinations from Jack. He's feeling himself a little bit after that. He gives Holland a little smirk. Yeah, I'm very, very impressed by the head movement, the striking defense of Madalena. He looks very sharp. Now, you know what would be a good fight? I would love to see Madalena versus MVP. Wow, Kevin Holland actually shot a takedown there. Can you imagine if he were to come in to this fight this weekend with a grappling heavy game plan? You know, MVP's ground games obviously look bad against Storley and Lima. Holland very rarely shoots takedowns, but if you can submit Michael Kizer, man, and to be fair, Jacare, if you can put those guys away on the ground, then MVP is nowhere near the level of those guys on the ground. Can you imagine if Holland switched it up and actually grappled? That would be kind of nuts. But Madalena's striking defense looks top tier in this fight. It isn't easy to stand in front of a guy that has a huge size and reach like this over you. And Holland hasn't really been able to land anything too clean. I'm very impressed by Madalena. He looks very sharp on the feet. I think it's going to be a real difficult fight for Burns on the feet. He's going to have to get his grappling game going. So it'll be interesting to see how Madalena looks against Hafez. Because obviously we did see Madalena's ground game exposed a little in that fight. But we'll have to see the extent at which it got exposed. We can close Page down now. Actually, we can close Holland down as well. Yeah, his other fights aren't really going to tell us a whole lot. Is Ange Looser fighting on this card? Sure, I've seen Ange Looser is fighting soon. If he's not fighting on this card, I think he's fighting on a card very soon. So sync up round 3 for me, guys. Sure, I've seen Ange Looser on one of the upcoming cards. Yeah, he's fighting next week. Mr. Looser. So we'll be watching Madalena again real soon on next week's research session. Very cool. Very, very cool. Alright. Let's get into the next one. Let's go, let's go. So, round 3. So round 3 starts at 14 minutes and 24 seconds. That's 14 minutes 24. So Salima is saying, quick question, why did you delete my message when I said you were good at analysing but sit on the fence when making clear predictions? Salima, I promise you, I will look straight into the camera, I promise you, with every single strand of DNA in my body, I have not deleted your comment, any comment you've ever left. I don't know where you posted it. If you post it on YouTube, what I would say is that YouTube has a karma system where if YouTube believes that your comment is like negative or insulting in some way, YouTube will sometimes automatically like shadow ban your comment. It will just like not display it. But I don't remove messages, man. I've never deleted your message or anything. So if you post it again, I can respond to it. But yeah, I never deleted anything. What you might find, this is not me being a dick. This is not me being a dick. I'm just going to explain to you how the karma system works. Basically, if you are someone that comments on a lot of people's YouTube videos and like a lot of people over a period of time have like thumbs down your comments. It's almost like you have like a social credit score within the YouTube social platform, and then they will either like shadow ban your content, or if you look at the ranking of comments on YouTube, if you consistently post like negative comments on people's YouTube videos, they will like display your comments like way further down than other people's. I don't know exactly how the algorithm works, but I'm guessing it's along those lines. So yeah, I didn't delete your comment. So if you want to put it in here, I'll answer whatever you say. But yeah, I wouldn't delete something like that, man. Hey, what's up, Nick Clark, mate? Nick is saying, I do agree with you on MVP's volume being a problem. However, after watching that footage, there are so many opportunities for MVP to get Holland clean and therefore sway around. Yeah, it's a good point, man. It is a good point. It's just going to be a question of whether the odd big, hard, impactful shot that Holland lands, or the odd hard, impactful shot that MVP lands, is going to be able to outweigh maybe a decent amount of volume that Holland puts on him. The thing is, like, it's just MMA judges. I just don't trust them. That's the problem I have, because when you have a guy like when you have a guy like MVP that doesn't do a whole lot, I think you have to have a lot of faith in judges. And I have no faith in judges, man. They cost me like tens of thousands every year. It's a fucking nightmare. Yeah, I agree with you, Luis Perez. Luis Perez is just saying that, and this is the big problem I have with MVP. When you look at a guy like Logan Storley, has absolutely nothing for MVP on the feet, right? Significantly smaller, no knockout power, very flat-footed, very basic. He's literally in a defensive shell from the very first second. And MVP didn't really trouble Storley on the feet. Storley was quite safe. He was quite comfortable in there. Don't get me wrong, he was uncomfortable because he was forced into fighting on the outside in an awkward position. You know, he showed MVP a lot of respect. But MVP didn't really hurt him on the feet. And when I look at a fight like that, Storley is an absolute sitting duck. You'd expect MVP to light him up, knock him down, do a load of damage. If you can't cause a guy like Storley major problems on the feet, I really worry for how he's going to look against UFC level guys like Kevin Holland. I definitely agree with Luis Perez on that. Nick Clark is saying that the competition thing is void to me. MVP is for top level anyways. Styles make fights, and I think we can see the openings he has to piece up Holland. The volume worries me if it goes the cards. Yeah, I feel exactly the same as Nick. I agree with Nick, man. Joey McBride is saying that it's a clear pass for him. Burns can easily get starched, but Madalena's takedown offense doesn't work his way up at all. Yeah, I'm looking forward to watching this fight now against Hafez to see what his takedown offense ground game looks like. Hey Bob, what's up, mate? Good to see you, Bob. Thanks for the kind words, mate. So we're just talking about the Madalena fight. Yeah, we'll take a look at the Madalena Hafez fight in a minute. So Suzanne, we're going to research Yadong Song Peter Yan on stream tomorrow. So tomorrow I'll do a double stream with O'Malley and Vera and Song and Yan. So I'll do it probably about the same time tomorrow, or actually maybe a little bit earlier. So MVP hasn't fought anyone like Holland. The problem is we've got rid of his record now. When you look at Page's record, there's just nobody that he's fought like anything like Holland, which is a huge issue. This fight ended in 26 seconds. Perry is obviously just, you know, a boxer with a predominantly, or a brawler with a predominantly boxing-based style. Storley, small, compact, muscular grappler. Lima, very traditional Muay Thai style, but also very low volume. Derek Anderson is just like a Nate Landwehr type brawler. Ross Houston, again, just like a fucking brawler, just comes forward, you know, very, very average. Doesn't have the dynamic footwork and movement of someone like, like Holland. Shinjo Anzai, grappler. I don't know anything about Gianni Malilo. Richard Keeley, striker. Obviously, we've spoken about Douglas Lima. Paul Daly, just a heavy-handed slugger, right, with big knockout power. And David Rickles is just a dog. So, yeah, it's... and even Fernando Gonzalez, to be fair, just a tough, gritty dog. Evangelista Santos, brawler. So, yeah, he hasn't fought anyone like Holland. Nothing like him. Nothing like him. Yeah, that's right, Bab, man. Like, yeah, if you post a lot of comments on YouTube, and I think they get thumbs down, or even, do you know what? I don't even know if YouTube shadow bans you from. I don't even know if YouTube shadow bans your content if you get a lot of thumbs down. But it definitely works off some sort of karma system. I don't know how they do it. It wouldn't even surprise me. This is where it gets a little bit worrying, right? Because if you think about it, YouTube definitely shadow bans some comments now. And I don't know what metrics they use to do it, but you can imagine in the near future on social media, the way AI is developing. I mean, AI could probably even do this now. I think it'll get to a point where AI can even assess, like, the tone of what you're saying, or the kind of things you're saying, and even shadow ban you based on, like, if it doesn't even think your opinion's appropriate, you know? That's something crazy to think about. I mean, I wouldn't even be surprised if that already happens on stuff like Facebook, Twitter, maybe even on YouTube. Maybe that's why, can't remember who said, maybe that's why Salima's comments aren't showing up. Maybe the fucking Matrix is silencing her. Who knows, man? Anyway, let's get into the next one. So this is round 3, Madalena versus Holland. So let's get it going. In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. Let's go, 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 go. Let's go. So super impressed with Madalena's striking defense in this. I think he's going to be a big problem for Burns on the feet. You guys also notice that Holland also gets in positions where he turns his back on his opponent a lot. Like, there will be situations where he just gets caught kind of running into his opponent, and it's just instinct for him to turn his back, which isn't something you see too often in the UFC. But you can really see it, right? When Madalena comes forward and lets his hands go, Holland's striking defense, it's not good. So it's a real shame that MVP doesn't let his hands go. You never know, though. He was way more aggressive against Mike Perry than in his MMA fights. But then you've got to think, he didn't really have an option because of the pressure that Perry put on him. He forced him to continuously engage, and it was such a small ring. It was really hard for MVP to be as elusive as he is in MMA. But it could be a sign that now he's out of Bellator, maybe he will be more aggressive. Because he lost the split decision against Logan Storley. He got lucky against Douglas Lima. Maybe he's realised that he needs to be more active. Otherwise, he is going to lose a lot of decisions. Like, there's no way a guy like MVP could put a title run together without losing a decision, with how passive he is. Just because he does leave it in the hands of the judges, who you can't trust. But what's cool is, I'd be very surprised if MVP were able to knock Holland out. I'd actually be surprised if Holland were able to knock MVP out. So like a few people have said, it does look pretty likely that this fight will go to a decision, or at least go deep. And so, because of that, we're going to get a good look at MVP this weekend to see exactly where he's at this stage in his career. Is he going to be aggressive like he was against MVP? Or is he going to be really passive like he was against Storley and Lima? So you can see the same thing is happening here that happened in the Ponzinibbio fight. Now, Madalena hasn't landed as many leg kicks as Ponzinibbio did. But it wasn't until the third round where you started to see Kevin Holland's leg give out a little bit from the leg kicks. And we're just starting to see that happen now with Madalena towards the end of this matchup. So I'm very impressed by Madalena's boxing. This is top tier. Very, very good. I thought Madalena was a lot more reckless. But defensively, he's absolutely brilliant. He's really good. It looks like he's paid the price, though, to develop that high-level striking defense. Because when you look at his nose, he certainly doesn't look like a guy with high-level striking defense with a nose like that. But Jesus, he's tricky. He's very tricky on the feet. So now, let's get into what fight shall we watch next. Let's take a look. So, I feel that fight gives us a really good indication of what to expect from Madalena's striking. And then, his 4 fights before that ended really quickly, so they're not going to be that useful to watch. Let's take a look at Mr. Belal Muhammad and Gilbert Burns. If you guys remember, on the topic of somebody saying that I never place any bets, which is obviously not true. But if we go to, where are we? If we go to here and we go to, where are we? I've got too many databases. How many databases have I got? It's going to be too hard to find. Fuck it. We're just going to delay the stream. I was just going to remind you guys, we did actually bet Belal Muhammad in this fight, which was very, very nice. Mr. Belal Muhammad came through for us big time, and he looked great. So, let's get into it. Let's get into it. Let's go. So, let's watch Belal Muhammad Burns. In terms of, like, this fight being... Hang on. Trying to find it for you. 2 seconds. Ah, here it is. I'll drop the link in for you guys now. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. I'll drop it into Twitch as well. Let me just grab you guys the ESPN Plus link. Alright. Sorry guys, just getting this synced up
Chain
myself.
of UFC, Muhammad.
There we go. Alright, so Belal Muhammad Gilbert Burns starts at 2 minutes 15 seconds. That's 2 minutes 15. Sync it up for me, guys. Sync it up. Sync it up. So Nick Clark is saying that Burns has a clear path to victory on the ground. Clear and obvious deficiencies for a fighter in Madalena. Yeah, I agree, man. Gilbert Burns is very tempting to bet. But it'll be interesting to see this Hafez fight now. We'll see what's up with Madalena's takedown defense and ground game. Maybe it's not as bad as I remember. I remember watching the fight at the time and being shocked at how bad he looked on the ground. So Suzanne is saying, why would you be shocked if Holland knocked out MVP? MVP is older and we've seen him knocked out cold. Don't think Lima hits as hard as Holland. Just because MVP is really elusive, when we go back and watch the Mike Perry fight, you know, Mike Perry was stood right in front of Michael Venom Page and we saw Perry land clean, hard shots on Page in a ring where Page couldn't really move around, couldn't really slip the shots, take the edge off some of those clean punches that Perry landed. For me, if Perry wasn't really able to hurt MVP in a bare knuckle boxing match in a really small ring where Page was forced to engage, I just don't think it's that likely that Holland would knock MVP out. And if we look at Holland's record, he doesn't really have knockout power. If we take a look at his record, you can see that the last time, well, he knocked Ponzinibbio out, right? But Ponzinibbio, let's be real, like Ponzinibbio's been knocked down and wobbled by a guy like Alex Morono that doesn't have any power in his hands. I just feel that, for me, the only guys that Holland is kind of knocking out are these older shot fighters like Ponzinibbio, Alex Oliveira, and you've really got to go back to, I would say, 2020 for the last time Holland KO'd someone that was like, you know, a legit striker at a good stage in their career. But even then, I think Buckley took that fight on like less than a week's notice. I think this was during COVID where guys were just stepping up on like a week's notice. That was Buckley's debut on less than a week's notice. I don't know, man. I don't see Holland as a big power puncher. And with how elusive MVP is, I'd just be surprised. I'm not saying Holland can't knock MVP out. I'm just saying I think it's improbable. I don't think it's very likely. All right. So the cynical Slayer is saying that Burns will show that Madalena is still not at the elite level, and he is saying that MVP will style on Holland, and Javon is saying he thinks Holland wins. I do agree with you, J-Man. I'm definitely starting to lean towards Holland. It's one of those crazy fights. Like, I thought MVP would be an amazing bet before we just looked at all the fights, and now it's kind of like, I hate betting on guys that just don't do very much. Like, because if you think about it, based on the fights of Page that we watched tonight, if you bet on MVP this weekend, you're hoping that he either lands a bomb on Holland and knocks him down in 2 of the 3 rounds, which isn't an easy thing to do because Holland's tough as nails with a granite chin. And then if he like slightly outpoints Holland like he did to Douglas Lima. You're praying that the judges will actually credit him for the odd jab he's going to land here and there. So it's like, I feel if you bet MVP this weekend, you're putting your money in a lot more danger than if you bet Holland. And also, like, I very much doubt this is going to happen. But when we look at MVP's performances against Logan Storley, Douglas Lima, even Paul Daly back in the day, MVP's ground game is so bad, and you've got to assign a certain percentage probability to the possibility that the fight might go to the ground. Like, yes, Holland never tries to take his opponents down, but he did shoot one takedown on Madalena. And Holland's a crazy guy, right? Say he decided to come in this weekend, use a grappling heavy game plan, he would probably dominate MVP on the ground. Like, if you can snatch a submission on someone like Kizer, bet your ass you can do that to MVP as well with how bad he's looked on the ground. So I just think Holland has so many more ways to win. You know? That's just how I feel about it. But it's tricky. I don't feel confident either way. But Holland, I think, is the stronger side to be on for sure. Two Scoops is saying he's picking Holland to win based on volume and the occasional takedown with submission attempts. I would love to see Holland grapple. I just think Holland's one of those guys that, like, he just doesn't fight smart. He prioritizes pleasing Dana and entertaining the fans rather than doing what he needs to do to give himself the clearest path to victory. I just can't see Holland going out and grappling. Alright, let's get into this next one. So this is going to be Belal Muhammad against Gilbert Burns. So it starts at 2 minutes 15 seconds. So let's get it going in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. So what's interesting about this fight is Belal Muhammad does have a similar body type to Della Madalena. And even though Belal Muhammad throws a lot more kicks than punches, Belal's got more of a kicks-based style of striking. His stance is kind of similar to Madalena. Of course, he's not as good as working his way inside. He's not as dangerous offensively. But there are some similarities to Belal's striking and Madalena's. So we'll get some clues in this fight as to how Burns may deal with Madalena. And of course, if Burns does struggle on the feet against Belal Muhammad, for me that's a huge red flag, because I would consider Madalena to be a significantly better striker than Belal Muhammad. Like, he might not have the leg kicking game that Belal Muhammad's got. Belal Muhammad's leg kicks are amazing, but he's definitely better defensively, and he's definitely more dangerous offensively. Better combinations, he hits harder. So it'll be interesting to see how these rounds look, because I remember this being a stand-up fight. And we've spoken so much about volume in the MVP versus Holland fight. We got to think about volume in the context of this matchup as well, because from memory, Burns doesn't throw much volume. He just kind of pumps the jab, but really looks to load up on the power right hand. Whereas what I really like about Madalena against Holland is that he threw a really good volume of strikes. So again, unless Gilbert Burns comes in with a grappling heavy game plan, it's going to be really difficult for him to win the decisions. He's not going to outpoint Madalena on the feet. I'm looking forward to seeing what Madalena's takedown offensive ground game looks like, because from memory it looked awful against Hafez. And obviously you'd expect Burns to be a much higher level grappler than Hafez. So if Hafez can have success against Madalena, you think Burns can cause him absolute hell. One thing that's a bit concerning for me is we're 3 minutes into round one, And one of Belal Muhammad's biggest weaknesses is that his boxing defense is quite bad. Like, he struggles to read his opponents. I'll come back to that in a minute, because that was a really nice double leg takedown entry from Burns. He timed that really nicely, got in nice and deep on the legs and hips of Belal. Obviously, Belal Muhammad's takedown offense is very, very good, and he quickly scrambled back up to his feet. But we'll see how Madalena looks against Hafez and see if Madalena is the kind of guy that would have been able to stuff an entry like that. But I was just saying, Belal Muhammad's boxing defense is one of his biggest weaknesses. And what I've noticed about this first round, we're coming up to being 4 minutes into the fight. Gilbert Burns hasn't landed a clean hard punch in 4 minutes. And when we consider how good Madalena looked defensively against Kevin Holland, how he was able to use head movement to bob and weave and fight his way inside, if we think about it, Kevin Holland was so much longer and taller than Madalena. And so, if someone like Holland struggled to land on Madalena, someone that's a lot smaller than Holland, with a much more orthodox style that's easier to read, that doesn't throw anywhere near the same volume as Holland, you'd think they would really struggle on the feet against someone like Madalena. Like, in this first round, Burns has not got near Belal Muhammad with head strikes. And Belal Muhammad's boxing defense historically is pretty bad. So that's a huge red flag for Gilbert Burns. He's going to need to grapple in this fight, or he's going to be in a lot of trouble. So straight away, I think just in sort of the first 20 minutes of footage that we've watched on both Burns and Madalena, I hope we can all agree Madalena has got a huge advantage when it comes to striking. If this fight stays standing, I don't see it being competitive at all. It's a real bad fight for Burns on the feet. So let's get into round 2 now, which starts at 8 minutes and 23 seconds. Let's get into it, guys. 8 minutes 23. Let's get into it. Let's go, let's go. Let's go. So Mbaye is saying, I think Hafez's wrestling's better than Burns. And Madalena looked bad because he had back-to-back weight cuts in a short space of time. He was trying to defend takedowns with guillotine attempts, and that's the main reason he ended up on the ground. And the Cynical Slayer is saying it's not worth researching this fight because Burns was injured 1 minute in. What injury did he sustain, mate? Javon is saying that Jack Della Madalena has been involved in some close split decisions which he could have lost. Burns is a veteran and he should take it. Do you know what though, Jay? I don't like betting. I don't like blind betting based off stats. But something interesting to consider is Burns is 37, Madalena is 27, and the younger fighter wins around 70% of the time when there's a 10-year age gap in a fight. So what I do find interesting about matchups like this is we know that if you just blind bet based on that age statistic, you should win 70% of bets over the long term. So whenever I find a fight like this, where if we look at the odds on Madalena, his implied probability is 50, let's call it 60% rounded up. If you were to just blind bet based on that stat, fighters in this odds range, theoretically over the long term you should make an absolute killing, because that's a massive margin. Now I know at the end of the day it's a cage fight to the death, right? And there will always be exceptions to every rule and every trend. And maybe this is one of those ones where Burns is the exception to the rule. But what I would say is that I think both these guys are at that stage in their careers where the age stat is really meaningful. Because Burns is going to be 38 years old in just a few months' time. Really old for a welterweight. You'd expect him to be declining significantly from fight to fight. Whereas, you know, Madalena, young, hungry, up-and-coming bull, should be making big improvements from fight to fight. Like, imagine if Madalena's developed some takedown defense since the Hafez fight. You should absolutely smoke Burns. That's just the way I would look at it. It's like the stages in their careers that they're at would make me really nervous about betting on Burns, because that's like a really powerful trend to try and fight against, you know? It's not easy to fight against a trend that strong. But you never know, man. There's exceptions to every rule. Maybe Burns is the exception. So, the cynical Slayer is saying that Burns injured his shoulder and bicep about 90 seconds into round 1. So thanks for letting us know, Slayer, mate. I appreciate that, man. Appreciate that, mate. We're this far in, we may as well carry on watching, but then Burns' fight against Masvidal is probably going to tell us a lot more. So thanks for the heads up, Slayer, dude. So Mbaye is saying, I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly as well, Mbaye. I'm probably butchering it. I'm really sorry. But she is saying, even a prime Burns, Madalena's a bad matchup for him. Burns literally cannot deal with the jabs. Madalena has a great one. Do you know what? I definitely agree with you. On the feet, I think Burns is in a lot of trouble. It'll be interesting to see what Madalena's takedown offense and ground game looks like. So we'll watch the Hafez fight next, because that should give us all the answers to our questions. And hopefully, by the time we've watched that, we'll have a pretty good idea how this one's likely to play out. So, let's get into this next round. Alright, let's go. So this, shall we actually scrap this then? Actually, fuck it, this stream's already really long. Let's just scrap the Burns fight against Muhammad and let's watch another fight which is going to tell us a lot more about him. Let's watch the Masvidal fight, because even though Masvidal's been on a steep decline, I feel that, again, Masvidal's style of striking is in the same ballpark as Madalena's, with them both having a very boxing-based style of fighting. So it'll be interesting to see what Burns' volume's like here. So thanks for letting me know about the injury, guys. I appreciate that. I won't waste any more time on that one. So we'll sync this up and we'll see how he looks against Mr. Masvidal. So let's get this going. Let's go. Sync it up for me, guys. So round 1 starts at 2 minutes and 27 seconds. That's 2 minutes 27 seconds. Oh, nice one, Joey, mate. Have a good night, dude. Speak to you soon, Joey, mate. Oh, we might see you tomorrow, man. We'll do another stream tomorrow. I might do a couple streams tomorrow. Nice one, Joey, mate. Have a good night, mate. Alright. Let's get into this next one. So this starts 2 minutes 27. Let's go in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. Let's see what we've got, man. Let's do it. I will say this. I don't have a strong lean in Holland and Page, but I do like the over a lot. Have we got odds for the over yet? They're not loaded on here. I think Jeff said they were like minus 150. I do like that. I'm strongly considering the over on this fight. I do quite like the over. I'll probably bet the over. I just think it's really unlikely Holland or MVP would get a finish. Oh, I'm just drinking a Coke, 2 scoops, man. Just a bit of sugar to keep me going. How long we been streaming, man? It feels like it's been a while. 3 hours. That's not too bad, actually. If we can get 2 fights done in like 4 hours, that's pretty good. 2 hours a fight, that's not bad. So what I really want to see here from Gilbert is much more volume than we saw against Belal. It was, we got the, like, well, in actual fact, Burns didn't really land a clean punch in the first round against Belal, which would make sense if he's injured, but we want to see him land some decent shots in this first round against Masvidal. So obviously Masvidal is just going to be stood right in front of him. Did that right hand land? I can't tell. Masvidal gave him a little bit of a nod. Was it a nod because it landed or a nod because he was very close? So one thing I am noticing is that Burns is very heavy on the lead leg. And you can see Masvidal is hammering that lead leg. Obviously Madalena inflicted a good amount of damage on Kevin Holland with the leg kicks. And Burns is a sitting duck to those leg kicks. So we're now 2.5 minutes in to round 1. Obviously it takes guys a bit of time to warm up, find their range. But Burns, again, just hasn't really landed any head strikes. Exactly the same as against Belal Muhammad. Just very low volume. Really, really low volume. And this is just kind of... It's just kind of showing me that Madalena's got a huge advantage on the feet. Again, Masvidal just hammering that lead leg. And that's something we know Madalena does well. Based on the Holland fight. Yeah, I just, Burns' boxing's an issue for me, man. He just doesn't land very much. Like, Masvidal is literally almost 40 years old, stood right in front of him, and he just isn't really landing. He's just very inaccurate with his boxing. And the problem is when you're this inaccurate, like, look, he's, you know, Masvidal's making him miss easily. And remember how good Madalena's striking defense looked against Kevin Holland. Problem with a performance like this is when you throw a low volume of strikes like Burns does and you're inaccurate, it's a huge problem because you're just not going to score much on the feet. Like, look at that, he kind of blitzes forward, throws that right hand, but it's just very telegraphed, and all Masvidal does is just back up and circle away. So Burns looking very inaccurate in this round. He's just not reading the leg kicks at all. So I didn't actually, before we researched this fight, I didn't realise that Madalena would have such a huge edge on the feet. But he does have a pretty significant striking advantage in this fight. But Burns' advantages on the ground as significant as Madalena's advantages on the feet. Like, there you see Burns landed a clean right hand, but that was because Masvidal was kind of blitzing forward recklessly looking for the flying knee. So very nice outside trip off a body lock there. But the thing is, what's the point in shooting a takedown that late into the round? Do you know what I mean? Like, don't get me wrong, it was a close round, so it probably helps Burns put his stamp on the round. But if you're going to take your opponent down, do it earlier in the round when you can actually score. I know Burns is just one of these guys that just doesn't grapple enough. I know it's because when he grapples, he does slow himself down, but he's going to need to grapple against Madalena, or he's going to find himself in a lot of trouble. So sync up round 2 for me now. It starts at 8 minutes and 40 seconds. That's 8 minutes and 40 seconds. 8 minutes and 40 seconds. Mbaye is saying, I feel like Madalena's a good bet. He opened the evens. I am really looking forward to watching the Hafez fight now. I just need to see a bit of Madalena's grappling, you know, Mbappe. Yeah, 2 scoops. That's what I'm most interested in, right? I don't mind so much if a guy has bad takedown defense as long as they quickly pop back up to their feet. I just don't want Madalena to be one of these guys that if Burns hits a takedown, Madalena's just going to lie on his back looking hopeless. I don't mind if Madalena gets taken down as long as I feel pretty confident he can defend himself and get back up. I just have some hazy memories in my head. The Madalena looked really bad against Hafez, but I'm hoping that's not the case. Alright. Let's go. Let's go. Let's get into round 2. So let's start this up in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. I think what's good is by the time we're done watching Hafez Madalena, we'll have a pretty good idea of whether this fight's worth betting. But I am quite happy that we've got clarity on the striking. I thought that it would be more competitive on the striking. I don't really give Burns much of a chance of winning a stand-up fight now. That's a beautiful takedown entry though. Really, really nice double leg entry. Nice and deep on the legs of Masvidal. Straight into side control. Straight into his guard. Sorry, he tried to go for side control, but Masvidal kept that left leg in a position where he couldn't dump him into side control. Very nice. Goddard's always got to get involved, hasn't he? Goddard fucking loves it. He fucking loves getting involved. Goddard loves it, man. So Masvidal looking super weak off his back. Burns not really having to work too hard to maintain top position here. And he is giving Masvidal a decent amount of space from top position as he's posturing up to land the ground and pound. So it's not like Burns' grappling control looks crushingly heavy here. Just Masvidal's making no effort to get back up to his feet. But I have a horrible feeling the Madalena is the same in the Hafez fight. Seem to remember the Hafez fight was a split decision, right? Whoops. How did the MMA media have it? Oh, okay. Maybe it wasn't as close as I thought. Almost everyone scored it for Madalena. Alright, that's cool. It'd be good to watch the fight back. That's pretty cool. So a bit of chain wrestling here from Gilbert. Masvidal actually did use that little bit of space Gilbert was giving him to pop back up to his feet. And then just drags him back to the ground off the body lock. Very nice. So nice chain wrestling in round 2 from Burns. Very, very nice job. Yeah, you know what, guys? I think by the time we just watch one more fight now, Hafez versus Madalena. I think we'll be done with this one. I think by the time we watch that fight, we'll have a really good idea of where we are with this matchup. I do like Burns' chain wrestling here. What I am looking forward to seeing is if Burns looks flatter in this third round, because Burns has been one of these guys that slows down a lot as fights wear on. It was the main reason why I bet Belal Muhammad to beat him in his last fight, just because in a 5-rounder I just didn't see Burns being able to outwork Belal. But he's exerted a decent amount of energy with his grappling in this round, and I think that's why Burns doesn't grapple hard, because he doesn't want to burn himself out. So when the third round starts, it'll be interesting to see what his footwork and his movement is like, what his breathing patterns are like. Because if he gets tired in front of someone like Madalena, he's obviously going to be in a lot of trouble. So if Burns did only have one good round of wrestling in him, that's no good, because he's probably going to need at least 2 really good rounds of wrestling against Madalena to win 2 out of the 3 rounds. So let's get into round 3. Let's do it. Let's go. Oh, that's good to know, Mbe. Thanks a lot for letting me know. So, Mbe is saying that Madalena did make a lot of mistakes in the Hafez fight by trying to defend takedowns with guillotines, but she's saying that he acknowledged it on Instagram, kind of made fun of himself for doing it. So that's good to know. That's really good to know, because I remember when Madalena fought Ramazan Emeev, right? We will actually watch this fight, because I think Emeev took him down a couple of times and he looked really scrambly and difficult to control. So that we'll watch that. We'll actually watch that before the Hafez fight, because it's only 2.5 minutes long, and we'll see what that fight is showing us. Just to give us another matchup where Madalena's grappling, we can just see a little bit of it. Yeah, you know, Herb kind of tried to screw him over in the Royval Moreno fight, right? He was in half guard when he stood him up, which is crazy. Bad refereeing. Alright, let's get into this third round. So, round 3 starts in 14 minutes and 53 seconds. That's 14 minutes and 53 seconds. Let's get it going in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. So I'm interested to see how sharp Burns looks in this third round, because I know historically he does slow when he grapples, and he did grapple quite hard in round 2. His striking is just very flat. I think Madalena is going to eat him alive on the feet, especially with Madalena. You know, you'd expect him at 27 to be improving a lot, and Burns almost 38. Every time we see Burns, you'd expect him to look flatter and flatter on the feet. I'm hoping that the Emeev and Hafez fight give us a decent look at Madalena's grappling, because I want to bet him. Like, if I feel Madalena's got a good chance of keeping this fight standing, I'll be all over him at 1.68. I think those odds are fantastic, as long as his ground game isn't a total joke. Thing with Madalena, right? He doesn't seem like the kind of guy that would have a really bad ground game, because he does have that tankiness about him. Like that raw physicality, that strength. You know, he's such a strong guy, such a physically imposing guy. Typically guys like that are quite difficult to take down and hold down. Usually the guys that are easy to take down and hold down are the ones that are like lean and skinny, like your MVPs, like your Hollands, like your Jairzinho Rosenstrikes from last week. But typically guys like Madalena, who have got that strong core, that solid base, usually they're hard to take down. So Madalena would be a bit of an exception to the rule if that wasn't true, which would be disappointing. But Burns looks good here, man. he hasn't slowed. Still moving well. Still hand speed is relative. Well, his hand speed's not any slower really than it was in round 1. He's picking up the pace. He's throwing more volume than he did earlier in the fight. He's not looking tired here. Don't get me wrong, he's not landing much either, but it's not like he's slowed. And he did grapple hard in round 2, which is good to see. I wonder if he's going to try and end this round with a takedown. He's obviously having tons of success on the feet in this fight. But I wonder if we're going to see Burns try and put his stamp on the round with a takedown. And now the Masvidal is just a sitting duck. Burns can tee off on him. But it's not going to be as easy against Madalena. Again, he doesn't read the leg kicks. Masvidal's just a sitting duck now, man. It's sad to see. Ooh, nice double leg entry again from Burns to the outside trip. These entries are really nice, man. Because Gilbert Burns' takedown entries are so well timed and so deep, I'm going to need to see an ability from Madalena to get back up. Because when someone's takedown entries are that well timed and that deep, it's really hard to stuff them. And his chain wrestling's very good as well. So before we can even think about betting Madalena, we absolutely have to see him put on his back and show that he knows how to work back up. And to be fair, I don't think Gilbert Burns has got the most physically imposing ground game. I don't think he's got the best grappling control, but his offensive wrestling is very good. His Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is obviously top tier, but his grappling control, it's not like if you've got fucking Damian Maia on top of you or someone like that. He doesn't have that crushing physicality to his top game, but his offensive wrestling is really good. And so now it is time we go and take a look at Mr. Madalena against Hafez and Amiv. And then we're going to know what to do, guys. We'll know exactly what to do based on those two fights. It's really annoying how we can't watch them together and how we've got to share links, because then these streams would be way better. But what can you do, man? It's just the way it is. Alright, so I think we'll start off with the Amiv fight. So it's only 2.5 minutes. I'll drop it in all the chats for you. There it is. Check that out. Let's get the Amiv fight going. And here's the ESPN Plus link. Do you know what? I actually bet Madalena in this fight against Amiv, and when he was taken down and Amiv had him in a really deep choke, I remember sweating hard, because I think Madalena was in a lot of trouble in this fight, and Amiv had him in a really bad position from memory. I can't remember exactly what happened. I know Amiv like caught him in a really deep choke and Madalena just fought through it. But yeah, I had money on Madalena in this fight and I was fucking sweating. Alright, so this first round starts at 2 minutes exactly on Fight Pass. So sync this one up for me, guys. It's 2 minutes exactly. 2 minutes exactly. Hey, what's up, Matthew Nazarian? Hope you're doing good, mate. Bab is saying that Gilbert could take him down and turn him into a pretzel. Yeah, you are right, MB. You are right. Burns is an absolute dog. He showed that against Chimaev. The concern I've got is, I think if Chimaev hadn't have also slowed, Burns would have been in a lot of trouble in that fight, but I think they both kind of gassed, and so they could still hurt each other, but neither of them really had the energy to deliver the kill shot. I think the difference with Madalena, as we've seen in the Holland fight, I don't think he'll slow. So if Burns and Madalena go to war, and then Burns slows in that second round like he did against Chimaev, I think Madalena can put him away. Because he's vicious. Whereas Chimaev's got that real flatness about him in rounds 2 and 3 that we saw as well in the Usman fight, right? Yeah, you're right, MB. Ameev is a dog. And I remember when, because like I said, I can't remember what odds I bet Madalena at to beat Ameev. It was such a long time ago. But when Ameev caught him in a really bad position, I remember thinking, fuck, like this is deep. And I was sweating my bet. And then when Madalena finished Ameev immediately after, I was like, oh my God, that was so lucky. Because I don't think Ameev had ever been finished up until that point. And Ameev is obviously extremely good MMA grappler. Background in combat sambo. If we look at his record, so he was finished by Madalena, and then prior to that, he'd been finished twice prior to that. But in a lot of fights against and you know, he's been competing against a decent level of opponent as well. So that is impressive. So it might be time to buy a little bit of Ceyhan as well. It is time to buy a little bit of Ceyhan. Not financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor, guys, but Ceyhan looks fucking fantastic. And I can't buy it right now because I'm on stream. But for the homies, we need to post this right now. 2 seconds, guys. Oh, actually, we'll pop the jewel in as well. Why not? Oh yes, we love this. 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 Sorry guys, I gotta do this because this might pump like now, and then people will miss out on it. Boom. Alright, not financial advice, not financial advisor. I'm just a pleb on the internet that doesn't know anything about anything. But Ceyhan's looking fucking good. So we need to wrap this stream up because I need to go buy some crypto, man. Alright. Let's get into it. Ameev and Mr. Madalena. Let's get it going in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. Go, 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 go. Alright, here we go, here we go. We gotta go buy some Ceyhan, man. We need to get this done quick. So I really want to see Madalena taken down because I want to see how he works his way back up to his feet. Nice single leg entry from Madalena, from Ameev. Chains into a body lock. Ah, it's a huge mistake. It's a huge mistake. Madalena tried to roll out of it. That's a big mistake. That shows a big lack of experience, man. Now he's in a bad position. But I don't mind it. I want to see him taken down. Okay, he's turning into Ameev. Very good. And immediately pops back up to his feet. I like that a lot. I like that a lot. I like it a lot. But the thing is, Gilbert Burns' offensive wrestling is very, very, very good. So we've got to see how Madalena works back off his feet against Amib. And look at that though, there was a really tight choke. Madalena fighting through that position just shows how much heart that he's got. Such a strong will to win. There's no quitting him. I mean, anyone with a nose that looks like that is going to be fucking tough as nails. Very, very nice, Mr. Madalena. He looked good there. And Bay is right. He looked good there. He looked really good. The way that he got to his knees so quickly and popped back up whenever he was in a bad position. I like it a lot. I like it a lot. So let's watch the Hafez fight now. Let's watch the Hafez fight. So I'll drop the links in and we'll see what we've got. So sync this one up for me, guys. Now remember, I think Hafez took the fight on like 3 or 4 days notice. It was one of those insanely short call-ups. So that's the main reason why he slows a lot. But this is pretty much all we've got to work with, because we haven't seen Madalena's grappling tested in too many other matchups, so this one's really important to us. Let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go. Let's go. Submission Savvy is asking what is Saiyan. Saiyan is a Ponzi token. Definitely don't buy it, because it will eventually go to 0. But in a Ponzi scheme, people make money, right? So why not play the game if you like punishment, right? That's the way I look at it. All right, let's get into this first round. Hafez against Madalena. It starts at 1 minute 30. Let's get it going. Let's go, let's go. Javon saying this is the fight that he gets exposed. We'll see, man. I'm looking forward to watching this. We've been talking about this fight for like 3 hours, so give me thank fuck we got to it eventually, man. Bob saying BTC breaking all-time high tonight. I hope so, man. That would be nice. It looks like Saiyan is gonna fucking explode, so I need to get off this stream and buy it quickly. Very, very quick. All right. 15 minutes will be done. Let's get it going. In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. Let's go, let's go, let's go. So, watching this fight live, I remember being super impressed with Hafez. So, beautiful deep double leg takedown entry there from Hafez. This is brilliant. That's the exact type of takedown you're going to see Gilbert. Well, actually, Gilbert Burns' takedown entries are better timed, cleaner, shot from a closer distance, but Hafez committed really hard to it. So we want to see Madalena pop back up pretty quick here. He's not in a bad position. He's relatively close to the cage. Hafez doesn't have control of his legs. So Madalena should be able to use the cage to wall walk back up to his feet pretty quickly here. Here he goes. Very nice. Here he goes. Very nice. Hafez in on his legs again though. Why are you grabbing a hold of the head like that? What Madalena should be trying to do is keep his back square to the cage and then dig underhooks in play. So Hafez kind of let him back up there. So now we'll see. Oh, judo throw from Madalena. Interesting. Dangerous to fuck around like that with Burns, because obviously if you're trying to defend positions like this with judo throws against someone like Burns, you can easily get your back taken. So what we want to see from Madalena here is just to turn into Hafez and get underhooks in play to break that control that Hafez has got on the body. But like with the Amib fight, Madalena is scrambly. He's not easy to hold down, which is good. but he's not showing as much urgency as I'd like to. Yeah, okay. So now he's turned into him and he's got that underhook on the left side, but I would have liked him to have done that like a minute ago. So not bad from Madalena, to be fair. There's like a few issues with his defensive wrestling, but actually not bad. Not bad at all. But I will also say this. When you're taken down in the middle of the octagon, like he is now, you're in a much worse position because you don't have the cage to wall walk back up to your feet. We'll see how Madalena looks in this position. So he's taken down, side control. Can he turn into Hafez and scramble back up? So Madalena's looking very weak off his back here. Like really, really, really weak. Like in the Amiv fight when he got taken down, he immediately turned into Amiv, got to his knees like he's doing now and stood back up. But why did he wait? Why did he wait so long to do that? Why did he wait so long to do that? I don't understand why he waited. Because he's clearly got an ability to work through these positions. He knows what to do, but he just takes a while to get there. Why? I don't understand. So a nice double leg entry there from Hafez. But Madalena's able to get his back up against the cage. He's got underhook on the left side. And Hafez has almost connected his hands together here. Just doesn't have the energy to fully commit to it. And Madalena's got a deep underhook on the left side now. So this opportunity's gone for Hafez. And there you go, he lets it go. Minute left to go. I do like Madalena in this fight. I don't love him, but I do like him. He's got a fucking chin on him as well. Double leg entry there from Hafez. Man, and it goes back to what Mbaye said. Like, he was in a really strong position to stuff that takedown. He just had to clear his legs and sprawl out of the double leg entry. And for whatever reason, he just decided to grab a hold of the head and pull guard on a guillotine. It makes no sense. I don't know what it is with Madalena, because you can see he's got the technique. He knows what to do to work through these positions, but he just takes way too long to actually do it. Maybe he needs to catch his breath, something like that. Maybe he needs to, I don't know, recharge his batteries so he's got the energy to explode out of these positions. But he definitely spends way too long working through these positions. So now sync up round 2 for me, guys. Sync up round 2. Now obviously the fight should become easier for Madalena now, because Hafez coming in on just a few days notice is going to be really tired. But we'll see how it goes. So sync up round 2. Hey, what's up, Hugo Boss? Good to see you, mate. Hope you're doing good, Hugo. Hey, what's up, the real stud? Hope you're doing good, man. He's saying Madalena for the win. I'm definitely leaning Madalena, mate, for sure. 100%, mate. Javon is saying that this is everyone on Yair Rodriguez 2.0. I do think Madalena is a lot more difficult to hold down than Rodriguez. Rodriguez is very easy to hold down, so it's a bit different. But then Gilbert Burns is a better offensive wrestler than Ortega, so I can see the comparison. It's a good comparison, Jay, for sure, man. Danielle Brooks is saying that she hates betting on fighters like MVP that have their hands down and they're open to get KO'd. look at Bobby Green's KO loss to Dober and how often Turner gets knocked out because he fights with his hands down. That's a really good point. Well said, Danielle. That is a great point. Alright, let's get into round 2. Start in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. So yeah, Madalena is a weird one because his takedown defense actually looks really good. His ability to work his way back up to his feet looks really good, but he just takes way too long to do it and he makes silly mistakes. Like you see there, Hafez shot a nicely timed double leg and he was fresh after having a minute to recover in between rounds so he could generate a lot of drive on it. And Madalena does a really good job of clearing his legs and getting his back up against the cage. But then there's been other times in this fight where he started to do that and then just jumped on a guillotine, which makes no sense. But it could be what Mbaye said, right? Where, you know, Hafez taking the fight on just a few days' notice. Maybe Madalena didn't take him seriously. Maybe Madalena was going for the 50 Gs, trying to finish him. Just wanted to submit him. You know, fighters do have big egos. They do think about stuff like this. You know, Madalena might have wanted his first submission win in the UFC, thought this might be the best way to get it. Maybe, you know, how often do you see fighters go and talk to Ariel Helwani on the MMA Hour and say, I've been working really hard on my grappling, I want to showcase that, when you're like, no, you're a striker, focus on striking. Maybe Madalena was like, I wanna prove I can grapple. And that's why he kept jumping on guillotines. So obviously Hafez looking really tired here. So not the best double leg entry, to be fair, because Hafez shot from so far outside of Madalena's range. But again, Madalena did a good job of clearing his legs and getting his back over to the cage. And Hafez just doesn't have the energy to upset his balance from here. But again, Madalena should be digging under. There he goes on the right side. He's got it. Good work from Madalena. Very nice. Good work, good work. Nice single leg entry from Hafez. Again, good takedown defense from Madalena. Midway through round 2. Do you know what is very interesting about this fight though? Madalena's striking doesn't look anywhere near as sharp because the threat of Hafez's offensive wrestling is making Madalena way more vulnerable on the feet. Like against Kevin Holland, Madalena's striking defense looked excellent. Here he looks a little bit sloppy because when Hafez comes forward, he's obviously got to be thinking about a takedown entry or punches, and he's going to have the same problem against Gilbert Burns. But the thing with Gilbert Burns is his offensive wrestling's a lot better than Hafez's. His cardio's better than Hafez's. His striking's definitely better than Hafez's. So there's all kinds of problems to work. Oh, he's pulled guard again. Why would you do that? Why would you do that, man? Why would you do that? He's pulled guard again. Why? Why would you do that, man? That's crazy. That's actually crazy. I don't get it. And he's looking very weak off his back. Like super weak. Man, Madalena's making it difficult for me to bet him. He's making it very, very difficult for me to bet him. And now he's mounted. Madalena's one of these guys that isn't easy to put on his back. But if you put him on his back, he looks very weak there. Don't think I can bet this fight, man. This is like red flag city. Like if Gilbert Burns comes in with a grappling heavy game plan, this guy is likely to be in a fucking universe full of trouble. And this is one of those matchups where it's really important to remember that you don't have to bet fights. You could just pass, right? A matchup like this, there's just no strong position on either side because Madalena's takedown offense is reasonably good. He might be able to keep the fight standing. And if it stays standing, he should light Gilbert up. But when his takedown offense is this bad, if Gilbert comes in with a grappling heavy game plan, Madalena's kind of screwed. And after watching this, I'm going through like a similar process I went through on the MVP versus Holland fight, where my initial lean was MVP. And then when we started watching the footage, I liked MVP even more. But then as soon as we watched a few Holland fights, my eventual lean was Holland. And I'm going through the same process now. My initial lean was Madalena. Then when we start to watch footage of Burns, I like Madalena even more. Now I'm thinking more about leaning towards Burns. Just because Madalena is so weak off his back that if Burns just hits one takedown, he should be able to hold Madalena down easily for the rest of the round. And it's a big shame, because the way I'm looking at this is, if a guy like Basil Hafez can easily hold Madalena down coming in on like 3-4 days notice, imagine what Gilbert Burns can do to him. Now, obviously Madalena's 27 years old. He's going to be making big improvements from fight to fight, so his takedown offense could be a lot better this weekend. But if it hasn't improved significantly, he's in a lot of trouble against Burns, man. He's in a lot of trouble. Alright. Let's sync up round 3. Let's sync up round 3. So round 3 starts at 13 minutes and 51 seconds. So Mbe is saying that she hasn't seen Madalena jump on as many guillotines like this in previous fights. What's tough though is that not many of his fights involve grappling, so it is tough to make an assumption that he won't do it, you know what I mean? Kaboomin is saying that the 10-year age gap is enough for me to bet Madalena along with a better stand-up. That's fair enough, man. I get that completely. I don't think it's a bad idea. Like we said earlier on, the implied probability of Madalena is 60% rounded up. So where we know younger fighter wins around 70% of the time on fights with a 10-year age gap, even if you just blind bet fights like this based on that stat, probably not a bad idea, man. I definitely get it, Kaboomin, mate. I definitely get it, man. John Citizen is saying that Madalena beat Randy Brown by guillotine, so maybe he came into this fight thinking it would work again. That's a good point. That's a good point. Submission Savvy is saying Burns is a southpaw. I think so, man, yeah. Javon is saying this is a fight where Madalena is going to get exposed. Kaboomin is saying Burns is orthodox. I thought Burns was a southpaw for some reason, man. No, he is orthodox because we were talking about him loading up on the big right hand. So yeah, Kaboomin's right. He is orthodox, pretty sure. Submission Savvy is saying that Burns is going to be able to enter the double and Jack gives his back to stand up and off the cage and feeling some nice Dagestani handcuff smash. The thing I would worry about, right, just to build on what Submission Savvy said, because I think he's right. My problem is, if a gassed out Hafez taking a fight on 3-4 days notice is able to take Madalena down and hold him for like 2 minutes in round 2, imagine what Burns can do to him, you know? Because we saw in the Masvidal fight, Burns' chain wrestling, offensive wrestling was still relatively good going into that 3rd round. So my lean is definitely moving more towards Burns. But again, it's like dangerous to bet against that age statistic. Because I always say, right, it's like, what I always say to people is really, 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 really hard making money betting on sports. Like, it's almost impossible. I went to a conference it was probably about 15 years ago now. I went to like a trade show in the UK with loads of like betting businesses. In fact, it was probably more like 12, 13 years ago. But anyway, one of the biggest online gambling sites in the world, Bet365. They're the most profitable business in the UK. They did like a seminar, and they said that 95% of betting accounts that get opened with them never make a withdrawal. So like 95% of betting accounts that get opened with them make a loss. So when it comes to fights like this, I always think it's hard enough making money betting on sports. Why make life harder for yourself, you know? If we've got a statistic where we know for a fact over a massive sample size that the younger fighter wins 70% of the time when there's a 10-year age gap in a fight, it's kind of like, why not just make it easy for ourselves and just not bet against the stat as powerful as that? It's such a strong trend to fight against that I feel like it's going to be way easier to make money long term betting with the trend, like betting with the wind behind our backs, right? It's way easier to push a boulder down a mountain than it is to push a boulder up a mountain. And I just feel it's we're probably making life really difficult for ourselves if we try and bet against the stat as powerful as that. That's just how I feel about it, man. It's fucking tricky. It is tricky. That's why I'm so conservative with my approach to pre-fight betting. Obviously, I'm a lot more aggressive live betting, but very conservative pre-fight betting, because with fights like this, it's so hard to feel confident on either side. Because if you bet Madalena, you know for a fact, it is indisputable, right? It doesn't matter how much you know about MMA, it doesn't matter how much work you put in, it doesn't matter how much experience you've got. It is an indisputable fact that Gilbert Burns can give Jack Madalena hell on the ground based on what we've seen. But then on the flip side, if you bet Gilbert Burns, it's an indisputable fact that Madalena's 10 years younger, which means, you know, statistically he wins 70% of the time, and he's got a big advantage on the feet. But I will say this, I will actually say something a little bit crazy. I do think Gilbert Burns' advantages on the ground are bigger than Madalena's advantages on the feet. Like, I do think Gilbert, if dragged into a war, dragged into a firefight, like we saw in his matchup against Chimaev, I do think, because of how reckless Madalena is at times, I think Burns could maybe have a bit of success on the feet. When the chips are down, they both bite down on their mouthpiece. Burns can land some good shots on the feet. Whereas when it comes to grappling, if Burns gets on top of Madalena, Madalena is fucking dunzo. I'm not saying Burns would necessarily submit Madalena, but he's definitely going to dominate him. Whereas I don't feel the striking between these two would be total domination. I think Burns would probably have his moments. It's a fucking interesting fight, man. It's just very hard for betting, unfortunately. I do agree with Jay Von. He's saying no edge at 60% at all. I definitely agree with you, Jay, mate. Hey, what's up, Eric, mate? I hope you're doing good. Eric is saying, appreciate the time you put into fight research. Very cool to do, and not something I see other cappers doing. You're one of a kind. Oh, mate, I appreciate the fuck out of you, Eric, mate. Thanks a lot, dude. I really appreciate it, man. We'll do some more streams tomorrow as well. Although, I'm a bit disappointed because, so I've been talking about this a lot on Discord. One of my big goals for 2024 is I want to get ahead of schedule on fight research, so that instead of researching fights during fight week, I'm researching fights as the odds get released. Because when I look at the odds on Benoit Saint-Denis, can you guys see on the camera? Yeah, there we go. Just like last week, Benoit Saint-Denis was at odds of 1.68. I haven't researched this fight yet, but I think at those odds he's going to be an amazing bet. But before I get a chance to research him, he's been bet down all the way to probably unplayable odds because of how reckless he is. Obviously, Poirier's got, you know, big power in his hands. But at 1.68, Saint-Denis is going to be a great bet. So if you bet Saint-Denis last week at 1.68, that was a fucking steal. So my big goal for 2024 with these fight research streams is try and get ahead of schedule, which is bloody hard because the UFC schedule is very busy. But we can, we can do it, man. We'll get a few weeks off, a few breaks in the UFC schedule. Hopefully, by the end of 2024, we'll be in a position where we're researching fights 2 or 3 weeks out, and then hopefully we can find a lot more bets because we'll get more value in the odds, and then hopefully, fingers crossed, we can make more money. Hopefully, that's my goal for the end of the year. Anyway, we will get there, man. We will get there, guys. We will get there. Oh, nice one, Kabooming, mate. I really appreciate it, man. Mew Mew is saying, do you feel a lot of veterans have been winning lately? Let me think. What veterans have been winning? I can't think of any off the top of my head. What veterans have been winning? Jim Miller won, right? Can't think. My head, like, all the fights just get fucking muddled into one. I'm getting old, man. I'm like 40 years old, so I forget. So do you know what, guys? Simple Man and The Real Stead are asking about the over. Like, this is just my personal approach to overs. As you guys know, we have a really high win rate on overs. I think over like our last 50 bets, I think our win rate on over-unders is something like 75%. I don't know the exact number. If Svet or who else tracks the stats? If Svet or basically some guys track all the stats on me. If Sweat and Dober are here, I would love if you could just quote our exact win rate on the over-unders. But I think over-unders are like, I'm much better at betting over-unders than I am moneyline bets. And what I would say about over-unders on fights like this is just my personal strategy, and everyone's got different approaches and everyone can develop their own strategies, and I'm not going to sit here and say any strategy is bad or doesn't work. So I think there's loads of ways to skin a cat, right? But what I would say is I really dislike betting overs on fights like this, because whenever you've got a guy like Jack Della Madalena who will force his opponent to engage, it's kind of a dynamic where something has to give, because Madalena is going to come forward and he's going to initiate violence for the full 15 minutes. And so when you've got someone as aggressive as Madalena, someone is going to be at constant risk of being finished, either standing up or on the ground, because Madalena is going to be forcing the action. So even though Burns and Madalena are both tough and they're both well-rounded, the fact that Madalena is going to try and turn it into a war makes me not want to bet the over. The kind of fights that we do really well on betting overs are where there's areas within the fight where there is safety for both guys. So matchups where there's areas that the fight is likely to go where several minutes can disappear off the clock, where neither fighter is in that much danger of being finished. So for example, if both fighters like to spend a lot of time in the clinch, or if both fighters spend a lot of time grappling but they're not neither of them are that dangerous on the ground and they're both relatively good defensively, or if you get two fighters who don't have too much power on the feet, they're not that aggressive. Those are the kind of fights that I like to snipe overs on. Whenever you've got a guy like Madalena that loves to go to war, I just think it's dangerous, man. I think it's dangerous. But I don't know, man. Don't know. Hey, what's up, Tom? Good to see you, mate. Yeah, these two fights we're doing are tricky, Tom, man. It's tricky. I think my leans... What's funny is when I came into this stream, before we looked at the past fights, my leans probably would have been MVP and Madalena. And now, after researching the fights, my leans are Burns and Holland. So I've like completely changed my opinion based on what we've seen. But I don't feel confident at all. I can't bet these fights. It's fucking chaos, man. Anyway, let's get this third round going, and then we can rush off and I can buy some Saiyan, because I think it's going to go up. I keep like checking the price because I'm worried it's going to like explode. But so far it hasn't. So we're good. We're good. We're good. Alright, let's get this next one going. Sync it up in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. Let's go, let's go. So by this stage in the fight, Hafez coming in 3-4 days notice should be absolutely fucking gassed out of his mind, especially the pace the Madalena's made him fight at. So it'll be interesting to see if Hafez is able to get the fight back to the ground in this round. We'll soon find out. To be fair to Hafez though, I know he's had a minute to recover in between rounds, but he's looking pretty fresh. Shoots a single leg entry there, but it wasn't that deep. Baldy head Sal D'Amato sat cage side. That guy's cost me so much fucking money over the years, man. Just in the last 6 months, he's fucking cost me a disgraceful amount of money. That guy needs to be investigated. Some of his scorecards are absolutely shocking. So that was a better double leg entry there from Hafez. But again, Madalena does a really good job of clearing his legs and getting him over to the cage. Hafez just doesn't have the energy now to get past the underhook. So he goes back to a single leg. But he's not going to get past those underhooks. He's going to have to let it go. You can see there's nowhere near as much physicality on Hafez's takedown attempts now. He looks very flat. Beautiful double leg entry. And Madalena again does a good job of showing him strong hips and getting his back over to the cage. And you know what's interesting? We're seeing improvement from Madalena as the fight wears on. If you remember earlier in the fight, we were complaining about him being very slow to start fighting for underhooks. But in this round, you see it there. Look, Hafez shoots a takedown, double underhook straight away. In this round, it's almost like Madalena's woken up to the fact that he might actually be losing this fight because he's giving up cheap takedowns. And now, in these grappling positions, Madalena is showing way more urgency to get the double underhooks, which is making it impossible for Hafez to get him down. So if we would have seen this from Madalena in round 1, I would have liked him a lot more than I do at the moment. Because now Madalena's doing all the right stuff. As soon as Hafez shoots the takedown, he's immediately getting underhooks in play and looking to clear his legs. And he didn't do that in the first 2 rounds. So he might have just been fucking about. He might have just been thinking, this guy's coming on 3-4 days notice. I'm going to try and submit him. I'm going to try and get the 50 Gs. Because look, even there, I know Hafez's takedown attempts are laboured now. But it's all about the technique that Madalena is displaying, where every time Hafez shoots now, he's going underhooks. And he's sprawled out of it. He's doing everything right in this 3rd round. Back take attempt. 2 hooks in. Oh, it's nice, man. It is nice. It is nice. It is nice. Mounted as well with an exhausted Hafez. Alright, that's going to be it for this stream though. We're going to be done here. So, we're going to be done. Oh wow, he's got overly aggressive on the back take. He's going to end up on the bottom. Yo, Madalena makes a lot of mistakes on the ground. We were being really complimentary to his defensive wrestling in this round, how he was doing everything right. He got overly aggressive on a back take and just slipped off. This guy could find himself in a lot of trouble against Burns. Because Burns is the kind of guy, if he just gets to your back, locks in the body triangle, you can see Madalena spend an entire round in back control. And you can see he's very green on the ground. He will make mistakes or present opportunities to someone like Burns. So that is, when you see him make mistakes like that, it is just a bit of a deal breaker. But anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. I appreciate it. We'll come back tomorrow and we'll do some more live streams tomorrow. We'll hopefully do 3 fights tomorrow. We'll do Poirier, Sandeni, O'Malley, Vera, and we'll do P.E. and Yadong Song as well. Hopefully, we'll be able to dig up some bets on those fights. I can't bet these 2 fights. These ones are tricky as fuck, man. I don't feel confident on either way on these 2, but hopefully we'll dig up some bets tomorrow. So thanks a lot everyone for watching. I love you all, boys. Love you all. Take care, everybody. MB, yeah, I do bet every fight in the even money odds range. Yeah. So my bets on this one, my even money bets on this one, probably going to be Holland for sure. 100% taking Holland. I'm not sure about Madalena Burns, because on one hand, I look at Madalena's ground game and I'm like, I have to bet Burns. Similar to what Javon said. I just don't see how Burns isn't going to expose how bad Madalena is on the ground. So then I want to pick Burns. But then in my head I have this voice saying, don't be a dummy and just bet the age statistic. And this is like where I'm conflicted, right? Whenever I've got a fight where I don't feel too confident either way, that's the situation where I'll just look to play like a reach statistic or an age statistic. Because if you can't lean heavily one way or the other based on skills displayed in the octagon, you gotta find something, right? So that's what's killing me. Yeah, that's what's tricky about this one, man. Find it tricky. MB, I keep calling you man and you're not a man, so I apologize. I probably butchered your username as well, so I apologize for that. But thanks a lot for watching, everybody. I love you all. Nice win, Shackle. Thank you very much, Koali. So yeah, I'll let you know in the breakdown video I drop later in the week who I'm going to bet on this fight. At the moment, I don't know. I'm torn on this one. It's tricky, but definitely Holland over MVP. Anyway, thanks a lot, everyone. Love you all. Take care, and I'll see you hopefully in tomorrow's stream.